Chapter 2590. Killed by refinement? Xiang Linglong was upset to hear this. As far as she was concerned, the only person that could save them was Luli. Back in that strange small world, Luli must have been very good at sacred glyph. He could crack the sacred glyphs of Hermit Cold Mountain easily, and the sacred glyphs plaza he built later was impressive as well. Qi Tianyu and the others? Xiang Linglong didn't expect that the divine inscriptions hadn't changed even after 4 hours. This meant that brute force couldn't break them. She also activated her white jade fan, but it didn't have any effect on the divine inscriptions. As for using skills to crack the sacred glyphs, Xiang Linglong was not belittling the sacred glyph. They knew nothing about sacred glyphs. Luli is dead? Linglong, what should we do? Qi Dingdong's state of mind was obviously not as steady as Linglong's. She panicked and said, "Are we going to die here? I don't want to die. Linglong, I haven't even been in a relationship. How can I die?" Xiang Linglong rolled her eyes, feeling somewhat speechless. What was this girl thinking about at this time? She thought about it and said, "There is no other way. The entrance must be sealed. People outside cannot get in. We have to try our best to hold on. Let's see if they can crack the sacred glyphs by chance. Ding Dong, don't give up. We have to hold on until the last moment." Okay. Qi Ding Dong wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, revealing a poignant smile. Her eyes seemed to be in a trance as she murmured, "If a prince on a white horse were to descend from the heavens and save me from my misery, I would definitely marry him and give birth to a few babies for him." Xiang Linglong was speechless. This girl was too naive. What was on her mind? Did she think this was a fairy tale? How could there be so many stories about beautiful women and heroes? What was more, this place was sealed off. There were only the people inside. Where would the heroes come from? Even if a hero came, Qi Dingdong hoped that it would be a young master. Young people didn't know about sacred glyphs. Qi Tianyu and the others were panicking, but there was nothing they could do. 2 of them kept on attacking while the others tried their best to crack the sacred glyph. Time passed by quickly. Soon, another 4 hours had passed. Luli was still engraving the 11 mysterious runes. He had already engraved 5 runes. The engraving went very smoothly. Although it took a lot of time, it could actually be engraved. The people outside still didn't make any progress. Many people had already given up in their hearts, and were only pretending to be thinking of ways to decipher the divine inscriptions. They didn't know much about divine runes, so how could they possibly decipher Tao Heaven Patriarch's divine runes? Qi Tianyu and White Fan had already given up all hope. Only now did Qi Tianyu realize that this wasn't a ruse by Exquisite Long. Something really had happened. This was because Qi Dingdong was heavily injured and on the verge of death. It was impossible to fake it. White Fang was even more anxious because Xiang Linglong was his biological sister, his only sister, the sister he loved the most. If Exquisite Dragon died, he would probably go crazy. At this moment, he was about to go crazy. He used all his strength to attack the black chains. His eyes were red, and he looked like an injured wild beast. PFFF. Another 4 hours passed. Xiang Linglong opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as a sickly patient's. The multicolored light from the white jade fan dimmed and almost disappeared. PFFF. At the same time, because the multicolored light from the white jade fan dimmed, Qi Dingdong was attacked twice. Her injuries worsened. If it wasn't for Xiang Linglong's quick reaction, she would have been sent flying. "Where's my prince?" Qi Dingdong was starting to lose consciousness. She instinctively used her treasure to block the attacks from the strange beasts around her. She kept mumbling, "The clan leader said that I was a very lucky person. I shouldn't die so easily. There will definitely be a hero who will come down from the sky on a white horse and save me. My hero, hurry up and come. Your ding-dong is about to die." "Silly girl." Xiang Linglong mumbled and shook her head speechlessly. She was a very rational person and never believed in such things. She had always been very independent and worked very hard. She didn't want to rely on any man but herself. However, at this moment, a woman's innate weakness was acting up. Her heart was actually longing for a strong and handsome man to come down from the sky and save her. Every woman actually had a hero complex in their heart. It was a side effect of hearing too many stories about beautiful heroes since young. Boom, boom, boom. The seven-colored glazed pagoda kept on attacking. The arch weapon's divine might was very frightening. The seven-colored glazed pagoda was also releasing a blinding light. The seven lights were dazzling and dazzling. As they shone down, everything below became very beautiful. At this moment, Xiang Linglong's mind became even more dazzled. A moment later, she was slightly astonished. The dazed look in her eyes became even more intense. She seemed to see the seven-colored glazed pagoda spinning. It was no longer attacking the black chains. Instead, it kept spinning in the sky as if it was dancing. If Qi Tianyu wasn't crazy, he wouldn't control the seven-colored glazed pagoda to dance on top of the chains. What was the situation now? Why would he do such a thing? Hence, Xiang Linglong's mind became even more dazed. She even suspected that she was hallucinating. Was she about to die? Linglong. Qi Dingdong suddenly spoke at this moment. She also looked up in confusion and said, "Why is that pagoda dancing on top of us? Is Qi Tianyu crazy? Or am I hallucinating?" Xiang Linglong was stunned. She suddenly became clear-headed. She wasn't hallucinating. Qi Dingdong saw it too. This meant that the seven-colored glazed pagoda was indeed dancing on top of them. She took a few looks and suddenly looked at Qi Tianyu. She realized that he also looked as if he had seen a ghost. Qi Tianyu was even more shocked than Xiang Linglong and the others. He suddenly realized that the spiritual connection between him and the seven-colored glazed pagoda was weakening. He couldn't control the pagoda anymore. It was dancing in midair. What's going on? His eyes widened. This was the arch weapon that he had refined. How could it not be under his control? What was the problem? Was there something wrong with the arch weapon? Or was there a thear-cranked martial artist hiding nearby who had forcefully refined his arch weapon? Qi Tianyu couldn't figure it out. He could only use his spiritual connection to control the seven-colored glazed pagoda. He wanted it to fly back to him. What a joke! This was the arch weapon. It was the weapon that their clan king had used in the past. If he lost it, he would probably be beaten to death by his father and grandfather. The others noticed this as well. The seven-colored glazed pagoda was flying around in all sorts of directions. It was hard not to notice it. Everyone looked at Qi Tianyu. When they saw his expression, they were all bewildered. They didn't know what was going on. Soon everyone knew what was going on. The seven-colored glazed pagoda suddenly stopped in midair. There was a flash of light. A person appeared outside the seven-colored glazed pagoda. The pagoda quickly shrank and flew into his palm. Chapter 2591. How is that possible, God of Massacre Lu? Qi Tianyu yelled in surprise. Not only him, but everyone else was confused. Everyone thought they were hallucinating. Many people had forgotten about this man. He was suppressed by a sovereign weapon. So be it. How could he reverse control a sovereign weapon? Was this a fairy tale? Once a relic weapon was controlled, it would be difficult to reverse control it before the spiritual imprint was erased. Not to mention the fact that the seven-colored glazed pagoda was a monarch weapon, one of the most powerful treasures. It was extremely intelligent and it was extremely difficult to refine it by force. Many people admired Lu Li's boldness as well. How dare he take the sovereign weapon? The original owner of the sovereign weapon was still alive, and he was one of the most powerful warriors of the third plane of martial emperors. Once the reincarnation emperor was enraged, Luli would be doomed even if he ran to the ends of the world. How did he do it? There were also many people who were very surprised by this point. Many people understood that the seven-colored glazed pagoda was very tyrannical. Although Qi Tianyu could not use his full strength and could not completely release the power of the imperial weapon, it was still very terrifying. If an ordinary lord was suppressed, they probably wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being refined and killed, right? Luli had been suppressed for more than 2 years. Not only was he not killed, but he had also taken control of the sovereign weapon. Not to mention the crowd, even if this news were to spread out, no one would believe it, right? God of Massacre Lu, how dare you? Qi Tianyu bellowed in rage. He flew up and charged toward Luli. With the sovereign weapon taken away, Qi Tianyu would be humiliated. He would not be able to hold his head up high in his family or in the frigid sea. This would be a disgrace for the rest of his life. He would be haunted by demons and he would never be able to make any progress in his life. Therefore, he dashed over without hesitation. He didn't even care about Qi Dingdong anymore. The only thing on his mind was to get the sovereign weapon back and kill Luli. Ha ha! Luli smiled. He poured in divine energy. The seven-colored glazed pagoda in his hand glowed brightly. Then, the pagoda flew out and expanded toward Qi Tianyu. I have suffered in there for years. You can go in there and suffer for a few years as well. Luli said with a smile. A door appeared at the bottom of the seven-colored glazed pagoda. Qi Tianyu could not resist it and was sucked in. The seven-colored glazed pagoda spun around for a bit, shrank down and flew back to Luli's hand. Everyone was shocked. Qi Tianyu was actually suppressed by his own emperor weapon? This was probably the biggest joke in the third heaven in the last 10,000 years, right? No matter how Luli ended up, Qi Tianyu was probably going to be crippled. At the very least, this humiliation would make him unable to lift his head for the rest of his life. He would never be able to recover from this setback, and it was very likely that he would never be able to break through to Lord level. He's not dead. Below, Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong were dumbfounded as well. Were they hallucinating again? Didn't Qi Tianyu say that Luli was killed? Why was he still alive? There was no need to be anxious about being alive. He could actually come out of the seven-colored glazed pagoda, refine the seven-colored glazed pagoda, and even suppress Qi Tianyu? This felt too surreal, like a dream. Especially Qi Dingdong, who wondered if he was hallucinating right before he died. She murmured, "How come Luli is here? Is he my destined one? Can he get me out?" "Young Master Tianyu. Brother Tianyu. Luli, let Brother Tianyu out or I will kill you. Luli, how dare you refine the seven-colored glazed pagoda and suppress Brother Tianyu? Nobody in the world can save you now." "That's right. If family patriarch learns about this, your entire family will be doomed." Many Qi family warriors came to their senses and shouted. Many even dashed toward Luli, trying to save Qi Tianyu. If Qi Tianyu was killed and they did nothing, they would not be able to explain themselves to their families. Ha ha ha! Luli laughed. He glanced over to the warriors and said, "Shut up. If anyone dares to make a move, I will let you in with your young master. Let me make this clear. I will show no mercy to anyone who dares to make a move against me." Many people were afraid to move, not because they were afraid that Luli would refine Qi Tianyu to death in a moment of desperation. Also, if Qi Tianyu could be suppressed so easily, they would be suppressed as well. Nobody could compete with a sovereign weapon. Also, judging from Luli's tone, he would not kill Qi Tianyu. The warriors were relieved. "Calm down." White Fan came to his senses. He cupped his fists and said, "Young Master Lu, Lady Linglong and Lady Dingdong are in danger. Do you have a way to save them?" Luli had been paying attention to Linglong and Qi Dingdong, but he didn't pay too much attention. He thought they would be fine. Sweeping his gaze across, he frowned. Both of them were in dire straits, especially Qi Dingdong, who seemed to be on the brink of death. Where is this? How far is it from the Tao-seeking valley? Lu Li asked. White Fang answered at once. This is the Rock's Ridge, not far from the Tao-seeking valley. We can get there in an hour. Okay. Lu Li dashed over like a mad dragon. At the same time, he used Dragon Roar to shout, Linglong Ding Dong, hang on for another 2 hours. I will be back soon. I can save you. Trust me. Blood Fairy was still in the Tao-seeking valley. Lu Li believed that she had been studying the divine glyphs here for over 2 years. Her understanding of divine glyphs must have improved. She might not be able to solve the divine glyphs here, but at least she could save the two. Lu Li could vaguely sense where Blood Fairy was. He flew over and at the same time, he kept calling her in his mind, hoping that she would come to him. Not a dream. Linglong and Qi Dingdong trembled from Lu Li's dragon roar. They came back to their senses. They looked at each other, delighted. Was that really Lu Li? Did it mean that they still had a chance of survival? Buzzing. Linglong tried her best to control the white jade fan. Qi Dingdong tried his best to hold on as well. He controlled the bead to attack the beasts coming from all sides. Lu Li came back soon. In less than an hour, he came back. As soon as he came back, he sat with his legs crossed. It seemed that he was working on the divine glyphs, but in fact, Blood Fairy had gone underground to solve the divine glyph. Blood Fairy was not sure if she could solve the divine glyph. That being said, she had made rapid progress over the past 2 years. She was not familiar with the divine glyphs here yet, but she had mastered the divine glyphs in the Tao-seeking valley. She could solve some divine glyphs now. Many turned to Lu Li. White Tusk stood next to Lu Li to protect him in case someone attacked him. Nothing was more important than his sister. White Tusk would turn against anyone that dared to attack Lu Li. They observed Lu Li for the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. They realized that Lu Li did nothing but sit next to the divine glyph. Could he solve the divine glyphs just by sitting there? How could this be possible? Buzzing, after the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, the chains in the air suddenly glowed and then vanished. The beasts that came out from the void were gone as well. Lu Li made his move as well. He rushed in and brought Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong out with him. Am I not going to die? Qi Dingdong stared at Lu Li. She still felt she was dreaming. She murmured to Lu Li, God of Massacre, did you save me? I want to marry you. You're the one for me. If I marry you, will you marry me? What? Chapter 2592. The Blood Emperor was right. As long as Lu Li could understand the mark left by the Reincarnation Emperor, he could control the sovereign weapon. The core of the sovereign weapon was the mark. As a matter of fact, Lu Li did not fully understand the mark. But after he engraved the 11 characters in his body, he resonated with the mark and established a spiritual connection. This law brand was like the soul of the Imperial armament, the core of the entire Imperial armament. What happened next was simple. Lu Li could control the sovereign weapon when he had a spiritual connection with it. It was easy for him to come out. Everyone knew what happened next. But what surprised Lu Li was what Qi Dingdong said when she came out. He remembered that Qi Dingdong had no feelings for him, and she was even more innocent than Xiang Linglong. But Qi Dingdong said something like this as soon as she came out. Lu Li wondered if he was talking nonsense. Xiang Linglong was not in a coma, but she was injured. She recovered after resting for an hour and explained what had happened. The two of them were here to comprehend Tao marks, but Qi Dingdong was wrong. Qi Dingdong went to study one of the marks and it went smoothly. But it turned out to be a trap. It was not a mark of Tao, but a trigger mechanism. Anyone who tried to study the marks would be taken in and the trigger would be triggered. Not even Xiang Linglong had foreseen this. By the time she realized what was going on, the plaza had been activated. There was nowhere to run and they had to send out a signal for help. Young Master Lu. Xiang Linglong's complexion recovered a bit, but she was still very pale. She got up and walked over, bowed and said, "You saved me again, Linglong owes you too much." The way exquisite Long looked at Lu Li became complicated. There was gratitude, admiration, curiosity, and maybe even a touch of affection in her eyes. She was not a sentimental person, but Lu Li had saved her several times. She had no idea what was going on in the blood lake, and she didn't feel anything when she was brought out. But this time she was touched. Qi Dingdong's words had evoked the softness in a woman's heart. She had lost all hope and was ready to die. That was the moment when she was at her weakest. At this moment, Lu Li had descended from the sky and saved her from the abyss of suffering. Any other girl would be grateful and develop feelings for him. Lu Li looked into Exquisite Long's eyes and said with a smile, "Exquisite Long, do we still have to talk about this? Aren't we friends? Shouldn't friends help each other?" After Lu Li finished speaking, he suddenly realized that there were a lot of people nearby. It was quite ambiguous to speak like this, so he quickly added what he wanted to say. Xiang Linglong averted her eyes. She was afraid to look into Lu Li's eyes. She lowered her head and thought for a while. All of a sudden she said, "Young Master Lu, let Qi Tianyu out. Also, you cannot take the imperial weapon or the Qi family will come after you. Furthermore, this Emperor weapon belongs to the Reincarnation Emperor. If the Reincarnation Emperor senses it, the consequences will be unimaginable." Lu Li replied with a smile, "I know what to do. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything will be fine." Lu Li took control of the imperial weapon and didn't release the gray energy. He had been observing Qi Tianyu secretly. Nothing happened. Qi Tianyu's armor was strong. Lu Li was only burned and suffered a bit. He wouldn't die. That was Lu Li's plan. He had half a year left and he would keep Qi Tianyu here. It was not his fault to let Qi Tianyu out. He saved Qi Dingdong's life again. If the Qi family came after him because of this, he would accept it. That being said, as the most powerful family in the Frigid Sea, the Qi family would not be so unreasonable. As for the imperial weapon, Lu Li would not hand it over easily. If the Qi family insisted, then he would give it to them. After all, he needed the Qi family to send him back to the land of Ziyang. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Right at that moment, a young master of the Qi family walked over. He cupped his fists and said, "God of Massacre, we understand the cause and effect of this. But we hope that you don't kill Brother Tianyu. We will report this to our family impartially." Lu Li was surprised. This young master of the Qi family had changed his attitude. He was going to report this to his family impartially? Lu Li nodded and said, "Don't worry. I know what I am doing. I will let him go when I get out." "Thank you, God of Massacre." The Qi family's young master cupped his fists and retreated. He then led the Qi family's men away. Qi Dingdong was not taken away. She was taken care of by Linglong. The Qi family warriors were relieved. The reason why the Qi family had changed their attitude so quickly was not because they were scared. It was because they had figured out one thing: Qi Tianyu was doomed. After this, Qi Tianyu would not be able to hold his head up high for a long time. He might even give up on himself and be abandoned by the family. Based on their understanding of Qi Tianyu's character, this was very likely. Of course, it was also possible that Qi Tianyu could pull himself together after a few years of depression and rise from the ashes. If Qi Tianyu was disabled, who would benefit in the end? It must be them. The most powerful young master of the Qi family was disabled. When the family was sure that there was no hope, they would cultivate a new spokesperson. By then, they would all have a chance. With the resources of the family, it was not impossible for them to reach Qi Tianyu's current realm. Therefore, as long as Qi Tianyu was alive, they didn't care about anything else. After all, Qi Dingdong would tell on them when they got out. They all decided to add fuel to the fire and push Qi Tianyu into the abyss. Only in this way could they have a chance. A big family or force was no different from a kingdom. It was just like the crown prince and the heir of a royal family. There was only one crown prince. On the surface, the heir respected him and supported him. But in fact, many wanted to overthrow him so that they could be the crown prince themselves. The most powerful young master of the Qi family would be the most powerful young master of the Frigid Sea. How high was his status? How many resources could he get? Look at the 7-colored glazed pagoda. That was what the most powerful young master had. Surprisingly, people had come to their senses about the pagoda. They didn't pay much attention to it. Luli had to go out no matter what. There were patriarchs of the Qi family guarding outside. Luli couldn't fly away. Therefore, Luli could not take the sovereign weapon away. If so, the sovereign weapon would belong to the Qi family. What was the point of worrying about it? Some even hoped that Luli could take the sovereign weapon away. In this way, the matter would be blown out of proportion and there would be no way to cover it up. By then, the entire Frigid Sea would know, which would be a greater blow to Qi Tianyu and more powerful for the patriarchs. One by one, people left. The matter had been dealt with. There was no point for them to stay. Luli and the Xiang family didn't leave. The Xiang family wanted to wait for Xiang Linglong to recover, and Luli wanted to study the 11 mysterious characters. In the blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. Qi Dingdong woke up, and the first thing she said was, "Where's God of Death Lu? Did he agree to marry me?" Chapter 2593. Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong were in a tent nearby. Xiang Linglong was sitting with her legs crossed. Luli and the others were sitting nearby, some distance away from the tent. However, Luli had activated the mark of Great Tao so he could hear Qi Dingdong's words. Xiang Linglong opened her eyes. Her pearl-like eyes were filled with speechlessness. She stroked her bangs and said, "Girl, do you still have any sense of shame? Don't move around when you are injured. Rest well." Qi Dingdong looked terrible. She was pale as snow and her face was thinner. She looked pitiful. She opened her eyes weakly and looked at Xiang Linglong. Then, she closed her eyes again as if trying to recall what happened. After a while, she opened her eyes again and said, "Linglong, was it Massacre God Lu who saved us?" "Yes." Xiang Linglong glanced outside the tent. After thinking for a while, she activated the divine rune seals in the tent to prevent their voices from leaking out. She said, "Death God Lu reverse refined the 7-colored glazed pagoda, then deciphered the divine runes and rescued us." "That's it." Qi Dingdong looked very determined. She said excitedly, "Linglong, did you know that when I met the family patriarch when I was young, he said that I was a person with great fortune?" "You have told me this many times," Xiang Linglong said, speechless. "But there is something that the family patriarch has not told you." Qi Dingdong's mouth curled up and revealed a beautiful smile. "I was very young and grew up listening to the stories of the family patriarch. That is why I especially admired him. I asked the family patriarch if I could marry him when I grew up. What do you think he said?" Xiang Linglong was interested. After all, the reincarnation Dharch was the most legendary figure in the third heaven. She asked, "Oh? What did the Dharch say?" "Hee." Qi Dingdong smiled and said. The family patriarch paused for a while and then closed his eyes to calculate. "He said that I was a person with great fortune. When I grew up, I would encounter a fatal crisis. Then, an extraordinary person would descend from the sky and save me. That person would be the one destined for me. That person would rise to the clouds and soar to the 9 heavens." Xiang Linglong was stunned. She felt she was listening to a heavenly book. She frowned and asked, "The Dharch knows about divination?" "Of course." Qi Dingdong replied with certainty. "The patriarch is very skilled in this aspect. Back then, it was also because of this powerful ability that the Frigid Sea region was able to seek fortune and avoid calamity, choosing the most suitable opportunity to win that world-shaking battle. Linglong, God of War Lu is the one for me." Qi Dingdong said excitedly. Think about it, God of Slaughter Lu is only at the early stage of the fourth tribulation, but he has such powerful combat power. He can bring us out of that small world and refine the seven-colored glass. He is a real genius, right? If it wasn't for Death God Lu, we would definitely be dead, right? Since he came out of the seven-colored glazed pagoda, he could be considered to have descended from the sky, right? He was so young, yet so powerful. He would definitely rise to the 9 heavens, right? Everything matches up. I think so, Xiang Linglong nodded. She knew another secret. Lu Li was a 7 tribulation physique of natural evil. If he could survive the next 4 calamities, then he was destined to rise to the highest heaven. She had thought that Qi Dingdong was too naive and romantic. Little did she know that all this was not because of Qi Dingdong, but because of what the Reincarnation Emperor said. Furthermore, the Reincarnation Heavenly Emperor knew the art of divination, which made this matter very interesting. He really is a genius, Xiang Linglong couldn't help but exclaim. It was already amazing that Lu Li could bring them out of that strange small world. Now, he could even refine sovereign weapons. How miraculous was this? Lu Li's background was a mystery. He was at the early stage of the fourth tribulation, but he had the ability to kill warriors of the fifth tribulation. He also had treasures with him, such as that ancient painting. He was proficient in divine glyphs, could refine sovereign weapons, and had the 7 tribulation physique of natural evil. Everything about Lu Li gave him a mysterious aura. The more beautiful a lady was, the more ambitious she would be. She had been in contact with too many outstanding men. To win their hearts, not just average excellence would be enough. She must be interested in a man who stood out from the masses. There was no doubt that Lu Li was the only one that made Xiang Linglong feel different from the other outstanding young masters at the Frigid Sea area. More importantly, Lu Li had saved her several times. Therefore, even if she was a very cold and rational person, after listening to Qi Dingdong's words, a ripple appeared in her heart. But she was not used to expressing her feelings. She didn't show it on the surface. She was not like Qi Dingdong, who was straightforward and unruly. Qi Dingdong took out 2 healing pellets and sat up. He stopped tending to his wounds and said to Xiang Linglong excitedly, "Linglong, do you think he likes me? I don't see any affection in the way he looks at me. He doesn't want to eat me alive like other people do. On the contrary, I felt that the way he looked at you was more or less interesting." "What are you talking about?" Xiang Linglong blushed and glared at Qi Dingdong. She thought for a moment and said, "Yes, I also felt it. He looked at you very calmly and didn't even look at you for long. So, it will be a bit difficult for you to take him down." Qi Dingdong was getting anxious. She wrinkled her nose and looked very cute when she was annoyed. She tilted her head and said, "Then what should I do? Should I force my grandpa to take him back and marry me?" Xiang Linglong was amused by Qi Dingdong. She thought about it and said, "From what I know about him, he is a typical person who can be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. So, you have 2 ways. The first is to take the initiative and conquer him with your sincerity and your charm. For example, isn't he going to the Ziyang land? Just follow him. Just let him know what you mean. Don't be too direct. The other way is to wait. Let him understand that you like him. Make it clear that he is the only one you will marry and then wait for his approval." "I choose the first way." Qi Dingdong didn't hesitate. She said with determination, "This is how I am. I love and hate. Since I have decided on him, I will make him marry me willingly. What's more, I, Qi Dingdong, am the top beauty of the cold tide sea. I don't believe I can't conquer him. I will make him willingly submit to my charm." "Shameless girl." Xiang Linglong reached out and scratched Qi Dingdong's nose. She thought for a moment and said, "Dingdong, I suggest that you don't be too direct. It's better for girls to be more reserved. Azura Lu might like girls who are more reserved." Isn't that simple? Chi Ding Dong smiled sweetly and said, I am the little demoness of 100 faces. I can change any kind of temperament. Watch carefully. I will be able to win him over in half a year. Chapter 2594. Luli could not hear their conversation because the runes in the tent were activated. But he was troubled. Chi Ding Dong must have her eyes on him. It was a good thing to be the target of a beauty. Chi Ding Dong was a beauty of the third heaven in terms of looks, abilities, and status. But Luli had no intention of seducing her. What was more, he was about to go back to the land of Ziyang and the second heaven. He didn't have time for romance. He couldn't bring Chi Ding Dong back to the second heaven. Wouldn't his wives and concubines be resentful? What was more, Luli had defeated Chi Tianyu. His relationship with the Chi family would be awkward. Also, the Chi family was a powerful family. If he married Chi Ding Dong, he would feel he was marrying into the Chi family. Never mind. Let nature take its course. Luli thought about it. Chi Ding Dong was a man of friendship. When Chi Tianyu attacked Luli, Chi Tianyu took the initiative to stop him and almost fell out with him. Luli had to accept this. Luli sat with his legs crossed in closed-door cultivation. He was not in the mood to study the skills and marks of Tao left by Tao Heaven. Luli's mind was occupied with the 11 characters. It was a secret skill left by the Reincarnation Emperor. Luli felt the skill was powerful. If he could learn it, he would have a powerful secret skill. More importantly, he had recorded all the marks on the chessboard in the cabin in the Valley of Tao. It didn't matter if Luli didn't go. He could study it when he had time later. There was still half a year left. Luli didn't want to study the other marks of Tao. Instead of studying here and there, he might as well learn what he was trying to learn to a great level first. Many people had left, including many from the Xiang family. Only White Fang and Qi Linglong were left. Luli sat under a tree to cultivate. 10 days later, the tent was opened. 2 beauties came out. One of them was in a purple dress. She was cold and aloof, like an elegant violet. The other one was in a yellow dress with floral patterns. Her hair was tied up in a bun. She was different. She looked like a graceful chrysanthemum. The 2 of them greeted White Tusk first. When White Tusk saw that the 2 of them looked much better, he felt slightly relieved. After the 3 of them chatted for a while, Xiang Linglong and Chi Ding Dong walked over to Luli. Luli sensed it. Before he opened his eyes, he had already smelled 2 kinds of fragrance. One was the one that Linglong was used to, and the other was something he had never smelled before. It was a nice smell. It was faint, but it lingered around his nose and mouth, making him feel comfortable. Luli opened his eyes and glanced over. His eyes lit up at once. The 2 of them were not less beautiful than Lu Ling. Both of them were cold and elegant, like Ling Long. Chi Ding Dong's temperament had changed today. Before, she gave Luli the impression that she was a noble, unruly and cute little beauty. But now, she felt like she had become a dignified and elegant noble beauty. Her temperament was poles apart from her original temperament. They walked to Luli and he stood up. Xiang Linglong and Chi Ding Dong bowed to Luli at the same time. Luli pretended to help them up and said, "There is no need to do this. I am not worthy of it." Xiang Linglong smiled faintly and said, "If we weren't women, we would have knelt down and saluted young Master Lu. Saving our lives is like giving us a new lease on life." Chi Ding Dong also said, "God of Death, do you know? I was in despair back then. It was a wonderful feeling to go from hell to the human world. I am truly grateful to you. I will never forget the kindness you have shown me in my entire life." Chi Ding Dong's style of speaking was different from before. She was reserved and euphemistic, like a cultured and elegant young lady. If she was like Bai Xiaoshuang before, now she was like Bai Qiuxue. Luli couldn't react for a moment. He forced a smile and said, "Lady Linglong, Lady Ding Dong, are we friends or not? Friends should help each other, shouldn't they?" When I was in trouble, Lady Ding Dong, didn't you stand up for me? That is different. Chi Ding Dong said with shame and self-blame. I didn't really help you before. You were suppressed by Chi Tianyu for more than 2 years and suffered so much. Now that I think about it, the Chi family owes you. Instead of holding a grudge against us, you saved me. I am ashamed. Ha ha ha. Luli laughed. He waved his hand and said, kindness is the most important thing. Whether you succeed or not, I appreciate your kindness. Okay, this is all in the past. Let's not talk about this anymore. Time is running out and we are about to go out. Don't you want to continue studying the Taoist marks? Luli asked them to leave. Chi Ding Dong's face fell. She wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. Xiang Linglong looked at her and said with a smile, what can we learn in half a year? We have all learned something. The view here is nice. Let's stay here and study with young Master Lu. When we go out together, we can explain to the patriarchs of the Qi family. Yes, yes. Chi Ding Dong's eyes glowed. She said at once, young Master Lu, don't worry. I will report this to the family. Qi Tianyu was the one who caused this and the family will deal with it impartially. Even if you want to keep the sovereign artifact, I will try my best to convince the family not to pursue this. Helping an outsider. Luli could clearly feel Chi Ding Dong's affection. Chi Ding Dong's eyes were already looking at him differently. Now, she was helping him to persuade the Qi family to let him have the sovereign artifact? She was not married yet and she was already helping an outsider. Thank you, young ladies. Luli bowed and said, don't worry. I know what I am doing. Qi Tianyu will be fine. If you want the sovereign artifact, I will give it back to you. Xiang Linglong nodded. She turned around and said something to White Tusk. She told White Tusk and the others to go about their own business and they would stay here with Luli. White Tusk thought about it and said, Linglong, this god of massacre is good and he has saved your life several times. But I feel he is not controllable. He is not a good match for you. I hope you don't fall in love with him. Otherwise, all right, brother. Xiang Linglong said with shame and anger, what are you talking about? He and I are just ordinary friends, not like what you said. Hurry up and leave, hurry up and leave. Look at yourself. White Tusk didn't leave. He said to Xiang Linglong with a straight face, think about it. Would you be like this for a man? Would you explain that we are just friends? Would you want to stay and be with him? You can't see clearly because you are closely involved. I can tell that even if you don't fall in love with him, you have a good impression of him. You are curious about him. When a girl is curious about a man, she will fall deeper and deeper and eventually fall in love with him. You know that the family has high hopes for you. You can only marry someone from the frigid sea. So, I hope you can be rational. What you are doing is dangerous. Okay. White Tusk left with the others. Xiang Linglong stood there alone. Her face grew cold. She pondered over White Tusk's words and thought about what had happened to her recently. It seemed. Chapter 2595. For the next half a year, Luli experienced the happiness of having two beauties with him. They cultivated with him, walked with him, and ate with him. Any young man in the frigid sea would go crazy with jealousy. Linglong was fine. She had always been indifferent. They were just cultivating together. They were friends, but Luli couldn't stand Chi Ding Dong's enthusiasm. Chi Ding Dong hardly cultivated. She would hang around Luli every day and throw him a few glances every now and then. Sometimes, she would sit not far away from Luli, resting her chin on her hands. She would stare at Luli with a big smile on her face. Needless to say, Chi Ding Dong had fallen in love with him, at least for a short period of time. Maybe it was because Luli had saved her several times and he left a deep impression on her this time, so she had chosen him. When a person was in the most desperate situation, it was when they were at their weakest. At that moment it was easy for others to take advantage of her weakness. Luli came from the sky to save her, so she admired him and then fell in love with him? Luli didn't understand, but he was troubled. Everyone loved beauty. At other times, Luli might have accepted it. After all, a beauty had fallen in love with him. But this time was different. For one thing, Luli felt his relationship with the Qi family was awkward because of Qi Tianyu. For another, he was in a hurry to go back. He could not let Qi Dingdong go back with him. For another, he was disappointed to come to the third heaven. He had completed the task given to him by the devil, but he didn't see Yin Qingxi. Lu Ling's memory was sealed, so he was in a bad mood. Naturally, he was not in the mood to pursue her. The only thing on his mind was to go back. Everything else would be put aside. For the past half a year, Luli had been studying the 11 characters. He had gained some understanding, but he hadn't mastered it yet. He was not in a hurry. The mysterious character had been engraved in his body, and he could study it at any time. During the half a year, apart from closed-door cultivation, Luli would gather with Qi Dingdong and Qi Dingdong every now and then. They all had good food and wine in their interspatial rings. It was tiring to cultivate for a long time. A balance between work and rest was the best way to study. Of course, sometimes he felt that Qi Dingdong was too pitiful and lonely, so he couldn't bear to come out and join them. Every time this happened, Qi Dingdong was like an excited butterfly. She was so happy that when Luli poured her a glass of wine, she would smile like a flower. Just like how Linglong had told her to be more reserved, Qi Dingdong had been acting like a noble girl at first, but after a while, her true nature had been revealed, and she had become a lively, straightforward, and fiery tiger girl. For the past 6 months, Qi Dingdong had been very happy at times, but most of the time he had been anxious and worried. She could tell that Luli treated her the same way he treated Exquisite. He could even treat any of his friends the same way. In Luli's eyes she saw friendliness, love, and care. The only thing missing was affection. She had always been very confident in herself, but in the past 6 months, she would occasionally run to the river alone and look at her reflection in the river, feeling sorry for herself. She wanted to see if she had no charm and if there was something wrong with her. Linglong saw all of this, but she could do nothing about it. In fact, she was secretly happy about it. She had been telling herself that her family had high hopes for her, and she would recall White Fang's words from time to time. However, every time she saw the figure sitting with his legs crossed under the tree, his straight back, and his face that was not handsome but had sharp features, her heart would beat faster somehow. She didn't know if this was love. She had thought about leaving many times, but she couldn't make up her mind. She told herself that Luli was about to leave and by then, their relationship would be over. Therefore, it wouldn't be a big deal to stay for a while longer. She would just treat it as a beautiful memory. Time flew by. Soon, half a year had passed. There were only 3 days left before the 3-year deadline. Today, Qi Dingdong finally made up her mind. She went to the lake and had a good bath by herself. She put on a yellow dress that she thought was the prettiest. She also wore a necklace made of wildflowers on her head. She looked like a forest elf. She didn't walk to Luli for fear that she might alarm Linglong, who was not far away. She chose to send a message to Luli from a distance. "Young Master Lu, can I talk to you?" Phew, Luli exhaled. He knew that what would come sooner or later. There was no way to avoid it. He muttered to himself for a moment before standing up and walking in the direction of Qi Dingdong. After Luli left, Xiang Linglong opened her pearl-like, dark and lively eyes. She looked at Luli nervously from the distance. But she didn't go after him. She waited here quietly. Luli walked to Qi Dingdong. Qi Dingdong was standing under a tree. She was breathtakingly beautiful. She had her head down, slim and graceful. Her legs were long, her waist was slim, her breasts were perky, and her skin was as smooth as sheep's fat. Maybe it was because she was nervous that she was short of breath. Her breasts were shaking, which was very attractive. Come on, let's take a walk by the lake. Luli walked to Chi Ding Dong and said naturally. Somehow, Chi Ding Dong was not as nervous as before. She stood side by side with Luli. They walked to the lakeside. The refreshing wind was blowing. Luli smelled Chi Ding Dong's fragrance. He felt relaxed and happy. Chi Ding Dong walked along in silence. She didn't say anything. She seemed to be thinking about what to say. Luli didn't look at her either. He just walked on quietly. After a while, he said, Ding Dong, 3 years are almost up. We are all going out. I will leave the frigid sea for the Ziyang continent as well. I am honored to make friends with you and Ling Long at the frigid sea. I cherish our time together. I hope it will become a beautiful memory for us. Lu Li's words were tactful, but his meaning was clear. He was leaving. He only saw Chi Ding Dong as a friend. They would never cross paths again. This experience would become a beautiful memory. I will go with you. Chi Ding Dong finally worked up the courage and said, I also want to see the other continents. I want to go to the Ziyang continent with you. No. Luli shook his head and stopped. He turned around and said to Chi Ding Dong, Ding Dong, I can understand how you feel and I appreciate your sincerity. But I want to tell you this. Maybe you have never been in love, never met a better man, and you haven't experienced much. Sometimes gratitude does not mean love. I just saved you and you are grateful. This is not real love. You need to calm down for a while and figure out what kindness is, what love is, and what friendship is. Maybe after I leave for a few years, you will realize that this is just a moment of impulse. I am not a young master from a rich family. I am not as powerful as you think. I am just a nobody. I am not good enough for you. No, you are wrong. Chi Ding Dong suddenly became very calm. She was not nervous at all. She looked up at Lu Li seriously and said, God of Massacre Lu, I am not a kid anymore. I know what I am doing. I also know what kindness is, what love is, and what kindness is. Also, who you are is not important, let alone whether you are good enough for me or not. I just want to tell you clearly, God of Massacre Lu, I like you. I am willing to go to the ends of the world with you. I am willing to give up everything for you, including my life. Lu Li looked into Chi Ding Dong's beautiful eyes. He was moved by her unswerving determination. Chapter 2596. Once again, Lu Li was lost in his thoughts. Beauty was deep and human emotions were deep. He could never bear to hurt a girl, especially one who loved him so much. Therefore, even if he had to say no, he had to think of a good strategy and a good way. He walked forward slowly and Chi Ding Dong followed suit. The two of them circled around the lake in silence. After 2 rounds, Lu Li stopped, looked at the lake and said, Ding Dong, what I want to tell you is that I was born in a mortal world, and I have a wife there. I have more than one wife. They are living in a small world in the second heaven. I am going to the Ziyang land to go back and see them. I cannot abandon them. Do you understand? I don't care. Chi Ding Dong said without hesitation. Isn't it normal for a man to have more than one wife? I have 3 grandmothers and 5 aunts. What's more, they are your wives. Why would I mind? Lu Li touched his nose in embarrassment. It seemed that Chi Ding Dong had set her mind on him. Was he that charming? There were so many outstanding young masters in the frigid sea. None of them caught Chi Ding Dong's eyes? How could he capture the heart of this pearl of coldness so easily? Actually, Lu Li was flattering himself. The reason why Chi Ding Dong liked him so much was because of something the Reincarnation Emperor said, which made Chi Ding Dong believe that Lu Li was the one. The Reincarnation Emperor was the god to all the disciples of the Chi family. They worshipped him blindly. Nobody dared to question his words. Lu Li tried to persuade her again. Ding Dong, you are still young. Don't rush. Think things through before you make a decision. How about this? I will go back for a while, and I will go to the 3rd heaven later. Let's calm down and think it over. You can teleport anywhere you want in the interspatial city. I will crush the Jade Talisman and you can come and find me. Luli decided to take a step back in order to gain some more time. By the time he lived in the second heaven for dozens of years, Chi Ding Dong would have forgotten about him. In this way, Luli could get rid of this ill-fated relationship without hurting Chi Ding Dong's feelings. Chi Ding Dong said nothing. She looked down and pursed her lips. She seemed to be wronged. After a long time, she looked up. Her eyes were full of pity. She looked at Luli and said, God of Death, can't you just take me away? Don't worry, I promise I won't give you any trouble. Chi Ding Dong was smart. She knew that Luli was stalling for time. Maybe he wanted to leave. She was afraid that after Luli left, they would never see each other again. No! Luli made up his mind. Then he continued in a serious tone, but I can promise you that as soon as I reach the third heaven, I will let you know. I never lie. Pinky promise. Chi Ding Dong reached out her little finger and looked at Luli with a serious expression. Luli was annoyed and amused at the same time. He made a pinky promise with Chi Ding Dong and said, Okay, pinky promise. Don't change for 100 years, okay? Chi Ding Dong burst into laughter. She thought about it, looked at Luli shyly and said, God of Death, can you hug me? Luli hesitated for a bit before he put his arms around Chi Ding Dong. Chi Ding Dong put her arms around Luli's waist. She pressed herself against Luli's chest and buried her head in his chest. Luli's heart skipped a beat when he felt the warmth and softness in his arms. Soon, he calmed himself down. He stroked Chi Ding Dong's hair with one hand and patted her back with the other. They hugged for the time for one incense stick to burn before Chi Ding Dong let go of Luli with a blushing face. She smiled sweetly and said, God of Death, we have pinky promise. You must let me know when you reach the third heaven. I will go and find you at once. Okay. Luli took out 2 jade talismans and gave them to Chi Ding Dong. They made an agreement and then they walked over. When they got back, Luli was just about to sit down with his legs crossed when he heard another voice. It was Xiang Linglong. God of Death, let's go together? Luli was surprised. Was Xiang Linglong the same as Chi Ding Dong? Not really. Xiang Linglong looked cold. She didn't seem to be in love with him. There was no affection in her eyes. Luli waved his hand to Chi Ding Dong, who left with satisfaction. Luli walked over to Xiang Linglong, and they walked to the lakeside side by side. Before Luli could say anything, Xiang Linglong asked, God of Death, you will go to the Ziyang land after you get out, right? Will you come back to the frigid sea? Luli answered, I will not go to the Ziyang land. I will go to a place in the second heaven. I think I will come up to the third heaven. But I don't know if I will come to the frigid sea or when. After all, it is too far away. There are no space cities at the Ziyang land. Xiang Linglong nodded and said, We must all live well. 7 trials of incarnation of evil spirit. As long as we can live on and get through the next few trials, we are destined to have a meteoric rise. As long as we can reach the Emperor realm, we can go anywhere we want. Won't it be easier to meet in the future? Emperor realm. Luli exhaled. It was not that easy to reach the Emperor realm. It would be many years in the future. If they met again in tens of thousands of years, would they still have the friendship they had today? Both of them seemed to be thinking about the same thing. They walked around for half a circle. Suddenly, Xiang Linglong stopped. She looked at Luli with mixed feelings and said, God of Death, if I asked you to stay at the frigid sea, would you? Luli thought of something. Xiang Linglong had always been proud and she liked to hide her feelings. It was quite explicit for her to say something like this. The Xiang family had high hopes for Xiang Linglong. Therefore, she would not marry out. Not even young masters in the frigid sea would marry out. If there was a man she liked, the Xiang family would be more than happy to let him marry into the Xiang family. Luli forced a smile and said, Thank you, Lady Linglong. I have a big family at the second heaven, so I must go back. Okay, I understand now. Xiang Linglong's eyes dimmed down. After a while, she looked up at Lu Li and said, God of Death, I wish you a pleasant journey. In the future, if you ever pass by the frigid sea, you must come to the Xiang family. Okay. Lu Li nodded. They went back the way they came. Xiang Linglong lagged behind on purpose. She stared at Lu Li's straight back as if she was trying to engrave him in the deepest part of her memory. Not long after Lu Li went back, he saw a group of people hurrying over. It was White Fang and his team. They were ready to go out. Okay, let's go. Lu Li stood up and was about to go back with the others when he heard a voice. It was from the Blood Evil King. Punk Lu, do you want to stay here for a while? Lu Li was surprised. He asked, Can I stay here? Can I be teleported out when the time is up? Yes. Chapter 2597. There's such a thing? After a moment of surprise, Lu Li was overjoyed. This was a land of treasures, a place that many people yearned for. If he could cultivate here for 8 to 10 years, he would be able to make a significant leap. Stay. Soon, Lu Li made up his mind. He sent a message to the Blood Emperor, How can I stay? I want to cultivate here for a few years. For Lu Li, 10 or 8 years of cultivation would pass by quickly. He had been at the third heaven for many years, so 10 or 8 years was not a big deal to him. If he could make a qualitative leap in his strength, it would be a great opportunity that could only be found by luck. It is simple. The Blood Emperor said, when the time is almost up, there will be a halo in the sky. You can go into the mountains and tell that fairy to activate the dojo. By then, the dojo will contain you and you will not be able to teleport out. Really? Lu Li was surprised. He told Blood Fairy to check the dojo to make sure that it could be activated. Blood Fairy just solved the problem. Activating the dojo should be a piece of cake. Blood Fairy went to check. When White Fang and the others came, Blood Fairy said, Master, it is easy to activate the dojo. You can do it at any time. Do you want to do it now? No. Wait for my order. Lu Li shook his head. He exchanged some pleasantries with White Fang and the others and then waited quietly on the side. Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong were surrounded by a group of people, asking about their well-being. Lu Li thought about it and said to Xiang Linglong, Linglong, I have something to tell you. I have a way to stay in the Heaven Path universe for a few years. Do you want to stay with me? For some reason, Lu Li asked. As a matter of fact, he should not have asked this question. But Lu Li thought that he had been lonely here all these years. It would be wonderful to have a beauty here with him, even if nothing bad happened. I can stay? Xiang Linglong was shocked. Soon, she calmed down. After a while, she said, Azura, are you sure that it will be okay? Lu Li replied, I am 80% sure. Also, if you want to leave, I have a way to send you out at any time. Okay. Xiang Linglong didn't hesitate this time. She immediately said, Killing God, I'll stay with you. Xiang Linglong pondered for a moment, then sent another voice transmission, God Slayer, should we tell Ding Dong to stay as well? As soon as she said this, Exquisite Long regretted it. If Qi Ding Dong were to stay, then Qi Ding Dong would stick to Lu Li for sure. Lu Li and Qi Ding Dong might make progress. But as a sister, if she didn't tell Qi Ding Dong about such a good thing, she would hate her for the rest of her life. Lu Li was a bit hesitant. If Qi Ding Dong stayed, for one thing, it would affect his cultivation. Secondly, he was afraid that he could not control himself and Qi Ding Dong. If that happened, it would be another emotional debt. However, since Xiang Linglong had brought it up, and he had told her about it, if he didn't tell Qi Ding Dong, she would definitely be heartbroken if she found out about it in the future. Lu Li thought about it and sent a message to Qi Ding Dong. Ding Dong, I am sure I can stay here. Linglong and I will stay. Do you want to stay? When you want to leave, I can let you leave the Heaven Path universe at any time. Do you want to stay? Qi Dingdong's eyes glowed. Without any hesitation, she replied, I will stay, I will stay. Okay. Lu Li sent a message to them separately, telling them to follow his orders. Both were excited, especially Qi Dingdong. Her face was flushed and her eyes were glowing. She was so beautiful that she could not be compared to others. Gong Yangwuxi and the other young masters from the Palace of Cold Water were stunned. Time moved on. Soon, the 3-year period was up. Halos appeared in the sky. Blood Empire Emperor said, Lu, activate the divine pattern and go in. Blood Fairy, activate the divine pattern, Lu Li said. At the same time, he took out the 7-colored glazed pagoda. The pagoda glowed and then a man came out. Lu Li let Qi Tianyu out. Lu Li planned to stay here for 8 to 10 years. Naturally, he didn't want to leave Qi Tianyu behind. He would teleport out as soon as he let Qi Tianyu out. As for the 7-colored glazed pagoda, he would not give it to the Qi family now. Okay, let's go, Lu Li said to Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong. Almost at the same time, the 3 of them dashed toward the rocks. Xiang Linglong took out her white jade fan and activated it at once. Qi Dingdong took out the string of beads and Lu Li took out the relic iron. Lu Li's sudden release of Qi Tianyu had already surprised many people. Now, the 3 of them were running towards the rock's ridge at the same time. Everyone was confused. What were they going to do? Buzzing. As Lu Li, Qi Tianyu and Qi Dingdong dashed in, the divine pattern on the rocks glowed. The black chains came out from the sky and locked down the sky. In the void, many shadows of beasts emerged and began to attack Lu Li. What? What are they doing? What is going on? Everyone was confused. They could not understand why Lu Li and the others were doing this. They were about to leave. Why did they have to go in and be tortured? Qi Tianyu was confused as well. He was just released by Lu Li. He thought he had been saved by his family, but he found himself still in the Heaven Path universe. As for Lu Li, Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong, they rushed into the rock's ridge and triggered the divine patterns. Buzzing. Rays of light came out from the sky. Before they could figure out what was going on, they were all enveloped by the light and disappeared on the spot. Before they disappeared, some of them still had their psychic power locked on to Lu Li and the others. To their surprise, they were not enveloped by the light. Buzzing. After a flash of white light, they found themselves on the small island. There were many people on the island, including Lu Wenxian. Patriarchs of the 4 forces were here and second patriarch was here in person. Qi Tianyu was worried when he noticed second patriarch was here. There were still people from the 4 forces here. He could not keep his secret any longer. Linglong is not out? White Tusk shouted. He looked around in shock. After making sure that Xiang Linglong was not here, his face turned pale. The Heaven Path universe would open every once in a while, but the opening time was uncertain. What if it opened after tens of thousands of years? Then Xiang Linglong would be sealed in there for tens of thousands of years. Who knew if something would happen to her? Where is Ding Dong? The voice of the second elder rang out. A member of the Qi clan immediately reported, Second elder, Miss Ding Dong and Miss Lu Linglong rushed into the Rubble Mountain range just before they were about to be teleported away. They activated the divine inscriptions and the 3 of them didn't come out. I think they are staying in the Heaven Path universe. Staying in the Heaven Path universe. Chapter 2598. Many people saw that Lu Li and the other 2 weren't enveloped by the pillar of light in the end. Also, there must be a reason why the 3 of them dashed into the rocks at the last moment and activated the divine patterns. Therefore, people believed that the 3 of them saw through something and decided to stay in the Heaven Dao realm. If it was anyone else, they would try their best to stay inside if they had the slightest chance. That was the primitive mystery realm with many divine patterns left by Patriarch Dao Heaven and many other places where divine herbs were produced. There were also some places that hadn't been explored yet. After all, the opening time was too short. Those who went in were all going for the divine herbs and marks of way. They didn't have time to explore other places. There were powerful divine patterns in other places that they couldn't solve even if they went. If they could stay there for decades or a century, they would have enough time to explore the Heaven Dao realm. A century was nothing for them. Cultivating in the Heaven Dao realm for a century was not as good as cultivating outside for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. That was the Dao Heaven realm. Many experts from the four forces had gained a lot from that place. Even the Reincarnation Emperor had said that he had gained a lot from that place. That place was practically the best cultivation secret manuals in the Frigid Tide Sea region. Second Patriarch said solemnly, "What exactly happened? Tell me in detail why Family Patriarch asked me to come and have a look. Tell me everything in detail. Don't leave anything out." Family Patriarch? The disciples of the Qi family changed their expressions. Qi Tianyu almost knelt down. Even Reincarnation Emperor was alerted? It seemed that he couldn't escape. Patriarchs of the other three families were here as well. Some were from the old demons' families. Everyone was shocked. The family patriarch of the Qi family was also the king of the Frigid Tide Sea area. His every move was watched by everyone. They remembered that Reincarnation Emperor hadn't shown up for hundreds of years, and they hadn't heard any news from him. Why did he send a decree this time? A young master of the Qi family looked at Qi Tianyu and said, "Second Patriarch, Family Patriarch is alarmed. I think it has something to do with the seven-colored glazed pagoda being taken. That imperial weapon has been refined by God of Massacre." What? The crowd was in an uproar. The seven-colored glazed pagoda had actually been snatched away? That was the treasure of the Reincarnation Emperor. No wonder the Reincarnation Emperor was alarmed. Qi Tianyu was so useless that even his imperial weapon was refined by someone else? Slaughter God Lu? Wasn't this the strange man who led the Qi and Xiang families out of that strange little world? Wasn't he an honored guest of the Qi family? Why did he snatch Qi Tianyu's sovereign weapon? What happened? Countless people looked at Qi Tianyu. Seeing his pale face, they vaguely guessed what had happened. The young master of the Qi family obviously wanted to push Qi Tianyu down into the abyss. He reported the whole story without any deviation or embellishment. He just reported the whole story as it was. "Pa!" The second elder suddenly flashed and slapped Qi Tianyu's face, sending him flying and crashing into a nearby hill. The second elder angrily said, "Old son, take this bastard back and report to the Patriarch, then we will ask the Patriarch to punish him." A Patriarch rushed over, took the pale Qi Tianyu away, and flew out of the small island. Second elder asked for more details. He was in deep thought. The worry in his eyes was not as strong as before. Based on the information they had and the current situation, Lu Li was very accomplished in sacred inscriptions. Therefore, the fact that the three of them didn't come out must be part of Lu Li's plan, not an accident. In other words, it was Lu Li and the other two's subjective decision to stay in there. Lu Li might have seen through some tricks and he wanted them to stay. If so, the three of them wouldn't be in any danger. As long as there was no danger, staying in there would be a great fortune, not a disaster. Second elder took out a jade talisman of life which was intact. He looked at Xiang Baya, who seemed to know what was on second elder's mind. He took out another jade talisman which was intact as well. "Okay." Second elder was relieved. He waved his hand and said, "You can go now. Next time when the Heaven Path realm is open, we will let you know. Also, please don't tell anyone about what happened here." Second elder was not talking about Qi Tianyu. This matter was too serious to be suppressed. Second elder wasn't going to do that. Qi Tianyu had made a grave mistake. Even the reincarnation emperor had to issue a decree. How could Second Elder suppress it? Second Elder was telling others not to spread the fact that Luli and the other two didn't come out. It wouldn't be a good thing if the news got out. For one thing, it concerned the reputation of the two young ladies. For another, Luli was an outsider. An outsider who went in and didn't come out would stir up a commotion in the frigid sea. Second Elder and the Xiang family warriors didn't leave right away. They wanted to stay for a couple of days in case Luli came out again. What if something went wrong in the Heaven Path realm? Therefore, they decided to stay for 10 days or half a month. God of Massacre! The Second Elder murmured. This person was truly a strange person. He was actually able to reverse refine even an emperor armament. Second Elder was not afraid that Luli would steal the sovereign weapon. He was not that bold. Besides, Luli had to use the portal in the spatial city. Second Elder was not worried that Luli would take the sovereign weapon away. What was more, Luli saved Qi Dingdong again. Instead of killing Qi Tianyu, Luli let him out. Therefore, Second Patriarch appreciated Luli's character. He was just a bit worried that Qi Dingdong would be deceived by Luli. Achoo, achoo, Luli sneezed several times in the Heaven Path realm. He, Xiang Linglong, and Qi Dingdong had just come out from the rock's ridge. Blood Fairy could solve the runes easily. Luli touched his nose and asked, "Who is scolding me? Who is it?" "Ha ha," Qi Dingdong grinned. Xiang Linglong rolled her eyes and said, "Don't you have enough people who want to scold you? I think everyone out there is talking about you. Many of them are scolding you. Those who are not envied are mediocre." Luli shrugged. "What is more, I have kidnapped 2 of the most beautiful pearls in the frigid sea. Those young masters must be jealous. I think they will curse me when I go back." "Ha ha ha!" Qi Dingdong laughed. Luli's words made her happy. She wished she could be kidnapped by Luli. Xiang Linglong rolled her eyes at Luli. Surprisingly, she said in a flirtatious tone, "Don't be so smug. We are not staying for you. We are staying for the Heaven Path realm. Ding Dong, don't you think so?" "Yes and no." Qi Dingdong rested her chin on her finger. She twirled around and said, "I am staying for the Heaven Path realm and to accompany the god of extermination." "Little girl, you have no shame." Xiang Linglong reached out a finger to tickle Qi Dingdong's nose. However, Qi Dingdong was faster. She tickled Xiang Linglong and said in a mocking tone, "Linglong, do you dare to say that you don't want to accompany the god of extermination? Bah, what nonsense are you talking about, lass?" Chapter 2599. Luli was living a happy life, but Qi Tianyu was having a hard time. After Qi Tianyu was brought back, he was directly thrown into the prison of the Space City to await his punishment from the Patriarch and the Elders. The former first young master of the Cold Wave Sea region had actually fallen to the point of being locked up in a dungeon. This was a huge blow to Qi Tianyu. Compared to this, Qi Tianyu was more afraid of the public opinion in the Cold Tide Sea area and the Samsara Emperor's opinion of him. At the end of the day, this was not a big deal. If Luli were someone else, it would not be a big deal even if Qi Tianyu killed a young master of the Xiang family in the Dao Heaven universe. Also, if Qi Tianyu really killed Luli, then it would be okay. The crux of this matter was, the 7-colored glazed pagoda had been reverse refined, and Qi Tianyu had been suppressed by his own Emperor weapon. The Emperor weapon used by the Reincarnation Emperor was not only a weapon, it was also a kind of honor. Qi Tianyu was suppressed by his own weapon, which was a great humiliation to the Qi family. Since the Reincarnation Emperor was personally asking about it, how could the Qi family not take it seriously? In other words, the matter itself was not a big deal. The important thing was that Qi Tianyu had embarrassed the Qi family and even alerted the Reincarnation Emperor. In an ordinary kingdom, if the Emperor asked about a matter, even if it was a small matter, his subordinates would treat it as a big matter. Therefore, Qi Tianyu was directly locked up in the dungeon. After the second elder returned, the Qi family's family head asked him about the details of what had happened. After a discussion with a group of elders, they decided to lock Qi Tianyu in a mystic realm of the Qi family for 10,000 years. Qi Tianyu was less than 1,000 years old. The secret realm was completely dark. Although it was a good secret realm for cultivators, there was no one inside. It was very desolate. If it was an old man being locked up for tens of thousands of years, it might not be a big deal. However, if a playboy like Qi Tianyu was thrown in there alone, even if he didn't go crazy, he would probably be crippled. Qi Tianyu was a direct descendant of the Qi family's master. He was also the most outstanding descendant of this generation. However, the head of the Qi family was ruthless enough to lock him in the mystic realm for 10,000 years. It could be considered as half abandoning him. It could be seen how much importance the Qi family placed on this matter. To the Qi family, the reincarnation emperor's matter was of utmost importance. In fact, the Qi family patriarch had locked Qi Tianyu in this mystic realm as a form of protection for him. This time, Qi Tianyu's reputation was completely ruined. If he was outside, he would feel strange gazes and hear all kinds of mocking and sarcastic words. He would also be treated coldly in the family. With his state of mind, he would probably give up on himself. In the end, he would either cause trouble, become a devil, or die. Qi Tianyu might go crazy or commit suicide in the secret realm, but at least there was no one to stimulate him. As long as he could endure this heart tribulation, he would be able to undergo nirvanic rebirth. He would be able to cultivate inside for 10,000 years, and it would be extremely easy for him to break through to the Lord realm. Given Qi Tianyu's talent, the only thing that could stop him from advancing was himself. As long as he had a major breakthrough in his mental state, not to mention the overlord level, he could even become a quasi-emperor. Therefore, being locked up in the mystic realm was actually a mental tribulation for Qi Tianyu. If he could overcome it, he would have a bright future ahead of him, but if he couldn't, he would forever sink into oblivion. Boom, boom, boom. When Qi Tianyu came in, he didn't say anything. He just released many huge hands and smashed at the mountains around him. The world was barren and the sky was dim. There were no plants or animals, only endless mountains and valleys. Qi Tianyu roared while releasing big handprints one after another. He quickly and unceasingly raised the nearby mountains to the ground. His battle prowess was very terrifying. The mountains were blasted away and the ground was smashed into pieces. Dust billowed up, covering up the sky and the earth. The booming sound echoed in the sky. God of Massacre Lu, God of Massacre Lu, God of Massacre Lu. There was a glint of red in Qi Tianyu's eyes. He was filled with killing intent and he kept shouting. It was as if he was treating the mountains as Luli. Smashing the mountains could help him vent his anger and depression. He was doomed. When Qi Tianyu learned that he was locked up in the netherworld realm for 10,000 years, he lost all hope. This place had always been the Qi clan's place of exile. In history, the Qi clan's members would be exiled to this place after committing a huge crime. Usually, those who were sent here would not have a good ending. If it was a young man, 8 out of 10 of them would have gone crazy. The family had given up on him. He was once the most powerful young master of the Qi family, the most powerful young master of the Frigid Sea area. Now, he was an exiled man. There was not a single living person here, not even a living thing. He had to stay here for 10,000 years before he could see the light of day again. It had only been 500 or 600 years since he was born. 10,000 years was a long time. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Since he was young, he had always been the best among his peers because of his aptitude. He was the center of attention everywhere he went. Wherever he went, there would be a group of people surrounding him like stars surrounding the moon. Now, he had to stay here alone for 10,000 years. The thought of it terrified Qi Tianyu. He would lose his mind in 1,000 years or even 100 years, let alone 10,000 years. A young master who had always lived like a prince, who was used to a life of luxury, a young master who liked to live a life of sensual pleasures, and a young master who was used to living like a prince, had to stay here for 10,000 years. This was worse than killing him. Calm down, calm down. Qi Tianyu forced himself to calm down. He forced himself not to overthink. Otherwise, he would be plagued by inner demons, which would slowly drag him into an abyss. He was a talented man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reached the peak of the fifth tribulation at such a young age. He flew down and landed in a small lake. The cold water sobered him up a bit. I cannot survive 10,000 years. I must find a way to get out. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, he made up his mind. He knew very well what kind of person he was and what kind of mind he had. If it weren't for the fact that his father had asked a quasi-emperor to help him during the fifth heaven's tribulation, he would have been turned into ashes. His mind was not strong, his state of mind was unstable, and he had too many inner demons. With his state of mind, there was no way he could stay here peacefully for 10,000 years. He guessed that he would go crazy or commit suicide in a few hundred years. Therefore, his only way was to find an exit and escape from this secret realm. The problem was that there was only one exit. This exit was also guarded by very powerful divine glyphs and 2 old elders. Not to mention that he didn't understand divine glyphs. Even if he did, he wouldn't be able to break it, let alone get out. I must find a way to find another exit. Qi Tianyu roared like a wounded beast. He scooped up the lake water and drank a dozen mouthfuls. After drinking a dozen mouthfuls, his eyes were filled with killing intent. God of Death Lu, you've ruined me, you've ruined me. You better pray that you don't get out. Otherwise, I will do everything I can to make you die without a burial place. I swear, I swear. Chapter 2600. Tao Seeking Valley, Tao Heaven Universe. Luli brought the twins back here and began to study the marks of Tao. The 3 of them made a promise that they would stop cultivation once every half a year unless it was an emergency. The 3 of them had a small gathering to avoid being too lonely and to avoid going down a dead end in cultivation. It was easy for a person to go into closed-door cultivation all year round by himself. He or she could go astray and eventually go mad. If they were from the older generation, it would be better. After all, they were mature and used to enjoying loneliness all year round. They were so young and immature that they could not stand the loneliness. Therefore, when they were cultivating in their families, the older generation of their families would advise them to take a break and gather with others after a while. Luli continued to sit next to the chessboard. Xiang Linglong went to the pond and Qi Dingdong went to the cliff. The 3 of them decided to cultivate for a while and explore the world when their cultivation was not going well or when they felt bored after cultivating for too long. Luli was in a good mood with the 2 girls. Even though he didn't plan to have anything to do with them, it was nice to have beauties by his side. With Luli by their side, the 2 of them were in a better mood. Most importantly, Luli gave them the feeling that Luli could handle anything. With Luli by their side, they felt much safer. Luli was like a safe haven. With him around, they could be safe even if the sky fell. Girls valued a sense of security because they were relatively weaker. Many girls instinctively yearned for the protection of the strong. To them, Luli was a powerful warrior. At least, he had saved them twice. Qi Dingdong wanted to spend time with Luli and enjoy the moonlight, but she knew that Luli had no time for her. He was more concerned about the marks of Tao and how to improve his abilities. Why did Luli have to be so thick-skinned to ask for a spot? He wanted to learn the marks of Tao and fundamental principle. Luli had been here for 3 years, and he had been trapped in the 7-colored glazed tower for 2.5 years. Therefore, Qi Dingdong didn't dare to disturb Luli now in case he would be annoyed. Xiang Linglong was deep in cultivation. She had a cold temperament. It was not an acquired trait but a natural one. Maybe it had something to do with the fundamental principle of frost. Soon, she fell into a trance and forgot about the outside world. Luli was even more direct. He entered the dreamland where he was absolutely safe. He didn't have to worry about anything. Before the Tao Heaven realm opened again, nobody would be able to enter. He definitely would not waste such a good opportunity. Slowly, Qi Dingdong got bored and went into seclusion. The Tao Heaven realm was quiet. The only place where there was still movement was underground. Blood Fairy wandered around underground. Luli ordered her to look around. Firstly, he wanted to take a look at the divine inscriptions in other places. Secondly, he wanted to investigate the situation and see if there were any treasures or peerless divine medicines. There were many dangerous places in the Tao Heaven realm, but the danger came from the divine glyph. The divine glyphs could not harm Blood Fairy at all, so it was best for her to investigate. The Tao Heaven realm was very quiet, but the frigid sea domain outside was very lively. Qi Tianyu's matter inevitably spread, and the name of Massacre God Lu became well known. The name of Death God Lu had already spread once before. The reason why it was so resounding previously was actually not because he had brought everyone out. It was because of the rumor that he had captured Xiang Linglong. Usually, this kind of gossip was more popular and more easily spread. This time, it was because of the sovereign weapon and the decree issued by the Reincarnation Emperor. For those in the frigid sea domain, the Reincarnation Emperor was the supreme god, the uncrowned king of the frigid sea domain. His every move would receive special attention. Also, before Second Patriarch left, he told everyone to be cautious about Lu Li's whereabouts. No one wanted to talk about it. The more they did so, the easier it was for rumors to spread. Qi Tianyu was locked up in the Netherworld realm, but there was no news about Lu Li. Theoretically speaking, the Qi family would make an announcement. Whether Lu Li was killed, captured, or recruited, there should be a result. At the very least, the Qi family should get the 7-colored glazed tower back and announce it to the world. That was the only way to save some face. However, the Qi family did not give any explanation, and Lu Li seemed to have vanished from the face of the world. Rumors were flying around, which made the name of Massacre God Lu even more famous. Currently, there were 3 rumors. The first one was that Lu Li was secretly killed by the Qi family. The Qi family was indebted to Lu Li, so they didn't want to announce it. The second one was that Lu Li had escaped and the Qi family was searching for him secretly. The Qi family didn't want to make a big deal out of this. They wanted to get the 7-colored glazed tower back secretly and announce it to the world so that they could save their reputation. There was another saying that was the most mysterious, and it was also accepted by more people. That was, Lu Li was taken away by the Reincarnation Emperor. The Reincarnation Emperor was delighted to see Lu Li and wanted to take Lu Li as his apprentice. However, since the Reincarnation Emperor hadn't given the decree, the Qi family kept it a secret for now. The Reincarnation Dharch was very broad-minded and was a person with great love. He was interested in the fact that Lu Li could refine his treasures. The content of the Reincarnation Thearcha's decree might be for the Qi clan to bring Lu Li to him. All in all, this was a hot topic. The entire frigid sea domain was talking about it. It was even spread to the north, south, and even the flying fire continent. This was related to the Reincarnation Emperor, who was the nightmare of the flying fire continent. God of Massacre Lu? Is it Little Lu? When Tian Yazi heard the news, he asked his family to investigate at once. Many pieces of information matched up. It was confirmed that it was Lu Li. Tian Yazi was overjoyed. He drank until midnight in his manor and couldn't stop laughing. When the dragon rebel race heard the news, someone wondered if it was Lu Li who had sneaked into that land of treasure. But there was nothing they could do even if it was Lu Li. warriors of the Flying Fire Continent dared not to go to the Frigid Sea domain. Not even Emperor Realm warriors dared to make trouble at the Frigid Sea domain, let alone average warriors. The dragon rebel race might be at the Emperor Realm, and of a special race, the most powerful one at the Flying Fire Continent. But how could the dragon rebel race go to the Frigid Sea domain? The dragon rebel race wouldn't dare to go even if they were 100 times bolder. In the past, the Reincarnation Emperor had also used a few Emperor-level heads to solidify his unparalleled reputation. The 3 Emperor Realm warriors at the Third Heaven, the Reincarnation Emperor, the Freedom Emperor and the Candle Heaven Emperor, all of them had the blood of Emperor Realm warriors on their hands. Emperor Realm warriors rarely fought with each other. Therefore, nobody could tell who was more powerful, so there was no way to rank them. But those who could kill Emperor Realm warriors were undoubtedly the most powerful among them. For example, Sunlight Emperor could kill Emperor Z, which meant that he was recognized as a powerful Emperor Realm warrior. Nobody at the Dragon Rebel race would deny his strength. The Dragon Rebel race also killed a Emperor Realm warrior. But compared to the Reincarnation Emperor, they were not at the same level. Little Lou. Chapter 2601. Half a year later, the Chi family didn't say anything and Luli never showed up again. Gradually, things quieted down. The world would go on without everyone. Let bygones be bygones. It was like how the Flying Fire Continent's Dragon Rebel team had killed the Emperor-level expert of the Lin family. At first, countless people were shocked and the whole world was talking about it. But after a while, this incident would soon be forgotten, and it would only be occasionally mentioned as an example. Or when the Dragon Rebel team was mentioned, the Emperor-level expert who had been killed would be mentioned. No matter how glorious or powerful one was in life, once one passed away, one would be forgotten or even despised, especially when one was like Emperor Z and Emperor Lin of the Lin family. He would only be a stepping stone for young Emperor to build a reputation for the wings of Dragon Rebel. People were forgetful. There were too many things to deal with in the Third Heaven. Soon, something else happened that drew people's attention. To the north of the Frigid Sea, there was a ferocious beast that wiped out a small family. At the moment, the beast was still wreaking havoc there. Several commercial ships were destroyed and thousands of people were killed. The 4 forces took this seriously. After all, the beast threatened the safety of people living in the Frigid Sea. The 4 forces all sent powerful warriors there, ready to suppress the beast. The 4 forces sent several lords over, thinking they could suppress the beast easily. Who could have known that the beast was so powerful? 5 of the more than a dozen lords were killed and the rest were defeated. The death of a lord of the Chi clan angered the experts of the Chi clan. They dispatched 2 quasi-emperor-level old ancestors. The other clans also dispatched quasi-emperor-level expert. This time, they finally succeeded in suppressing the fierce beast. The beast was badly wounded. The quasi-emperors of the Chi family took it back. They planned to tame it and turn it into a beast to guard the mountain. This back and forth lasted for more than half a year before the Cold Tide Sea area finally calmed down. Inside the Yellow Springs realm, Chi Tianyu was about to go crazy. In the past 6 months, he had circled the Yellow Springs realm twice and carefully searched it twice. However, he couldn't find any exit, not even a weak spot in the space. He had made up his mind that he could not leave the Netherworld realm. But thinking about how many people were locked in the Yellow Springs realm? For millions of years, this place had been the Chi family's place of exile. Throughout history, there had been lords who had been imprisoned here, and many people had probably investigated this place. If there was an exit, someone would have left long ago. Chi Tianyu saw many skeletons in the Yellow Springs realm. Those were the skeletons of the people who had been exiled here before. Many families did not retrieve their bodies, which meant that these people must have committed serious crimes and been banished from their families, exiled to this place. At this moment, Qi Tianyu's hair was disheveled and his clothes were ragged. This was completely different from his previous elegant appearance. If it was in the past, he would definitely not be able to tolerate this. He cared a lot about his appearance. His eyes glowed red and the muscles on his face twitched, making him look like a ferocious beast. He was lying on the grass, panting heavily, trying to suppress his desire to kill. There were no living creatures here, not even a tree. Apart from shattering the mountains, there was nothing else he could do. He had already smashed many mountains. If he continued to smash them, he was afraid that the hostility in his heart would not decrease. Instead, it would increase. At that time, the demons in his heart would become stronger and stronger, and he would eventually become a lunatic. "What should I do?" Qi Tianyu murmured. He grabbed his messy hair with both hands and closed his eyes in pain. For half a year, he had not rested a single night. His mind was running wild every day. His mental state was very bad, and he was on the verge of collapse. Half a year. It had only been half a year. He could not hold on for half a year. How could he survive for 10,000 years? There was no need to guess anymore. If he did not think of a way to get out, he would die. What should I do? What should I do? Qi Tianyu roared. The red light in his eyes became more and more intense. He did not roar. Then, he took out the purple gold gourd. It enlarged and smashed towards the nearby mountains. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding mountains were smashed into pieces. The sky was filled with rubble and dust. There were more than 10 mountains in the surroundings, but now they had become flat ground. They were all smashed by the purple gold gourd. Calm down, calm down, calm down. Qi Tianyu suddenly slapped himself a few times. His face was swollen. The pain made him calm down. He sat on the ground and began to analyze calmly. This netherworld realm was not big. There was no need to investigate further. There was definitely no exit, so he could not get out. Then, he could only be trapped here for 10,000 years? Could he endure it? The answer was no. Therefore, there were only 2 endings for him. Either he died or he went crazy. This was not the result that Qi Tianyu wanted. He was still so young, and he was already at the peak of the 5 tribulations. He always thought that he would definitely become a great emperor in the future. He was destined to leave a mark in the 3rd heaven. He even dreamed of becoming someone like the reincarnation emperor, a 3rd heaven supremacy. However, he did not expect that his life would come to this point. Not only could he not ride the wind, he had to stay in this desolate place forever and become a skeleton. His family might not even let him collect his corpse. This was not what he wanted. His life should not be like this. Even if I become a demon slave of the demonic abyss, I am not willing to die quietly like this. Qi Tianyu roared. Then, he suddenly froze. He suddenly remembered that he had seen a secret book in his family. It recorded some secrets that were not known to the world. No, I can't. Qi Tianyu suddenly exclaimed. Cold sweat flowed down his forehead. He seemed to have thought of something extremely terrifying. He shook his head repeatedly and said, I can't fall into depravity. Otherwise, I will be consigned to eternal damnation. I can't. Qi Tianyu thought of the things recorded in the secret book. He found a chance of survival. However, that chance of survival could make him fall into depravity forever. He could never return to the past. If he dared to do that, he would become the public enemy of mankind. He would no longer be human. He would become a demon soul, a thing that was neither human nor ghost. Qi Tianyu's family education from a young age told him that he was not allowed to be associated with such things. He could not fall into depravity. Even if he died, he could not become such things. However, deep in his heart, there was a trace of rebellious thoughts. Since his family had abandoned him, since he was destined to die, what else did he have to worry about? Although he would no longer be human after becoming a demon soul, At least his consciousness was still there. As long as his soul was still there, he was not really dead. There would still be traces left in this world. Huff, huff, huff. Qi Tianyu panted heavily as he paced back and forth in the vicinity. His eyes flickered and his face was gloomy. He paced back and forth like a wandering ghost for more than 10 days. Chapter 2602. Devil Abyss. This was a taboo existence in the third heaven. Ordinary people didn't even know about it. Ordinary small clans didn't even know about it. Only big clans and some powerful old devils would know about it. In this world, there was light and darkness, there was yang and yin. If there was a circle, there would naturally be imperfections. Nothing was independent, they all had relative existences. In this world, there was also a relative existence, and that was the Devil Abyss. If this world was a person, then the Devil Abyss would be this person's shadow. This world was light, then the Devil Abyss would be dark. They were mutually reinforcing. Since this world was bright and the Devil Abyss was dark, then the things in the Devil Abyss were naturally evil, all of them were devils. You forced me. You forced me to do this. Qi Tianyu roared. His eyes became redder and redder. His heart was filled with hatred. Right now, he was completely irrational. In his mind, there was only hatred and endless killing intent. Since he was going to die, he prepared to release a forbidden secret technique. That was to summon the Devil Lord of the Devil Abyss and turn himself into a devil soul. Then, the Devil Lord would forcefully bring his soul to the Devil Abyss and escape from the Yellow Springs. This was the only way for him to escape. Otherwise, he could only go crazy or die. Although he would no longer be human after falling into the Devil Abyss, it was still better than dying. At least his consciousness was still there. He began to set it up. Summoning the Devil Lord wasn't something that could be done easily. It required some complicated arrangements, and it might not be successful. This Devil Lord summoning secret technique wasn't seen in the clan's secret history. It was seen in a remnant scroll that he obtained by chance. At that time, he thought it was a powerful divine technique. Only later did he find out that it was a Devil Lord summoning secret technique. Because of this, he became interested and went to the clan's library to read about the Devil Abyss. He took out some formation stones and set them up. He had some understanding of divine inscriptions. Although it was a little troublesome to set it up, it was still successful. This formation wasn't big. It was densely packed like a black spider web. Qi Tianyu sat in the center of the spider web. He took a few deep breaths and gritted his teeth. He took out a dagger and started to activate the formation. He cut the blood vessels on his wrist, and fresh blood immediately spurted out. This Demon Master summoning array required fresh blood as a medium, and the amount required was not an ordinary amount. The blood was injected into the formation, and the formation began to light up. A black gas emerged from the formation and enveloped Qi Tianyu. His eyes became redder and more blood spurted from his hands. His face became hideous, like a malicious spirit. Suddenly, the formation dimmed and Qi Tianyu spat out a mouthful of blood. His face became extremely pale and his eyes were filled with shock. The formation actually failed to activate? He remembered that there were no mistakes in the arrangement, but he remembered that there were no problems. It was according to the arrangement in the remnant scroll. He rested for a moment and stood up. After carefully observing for a moment, he found that there were no problems and began to ponder. After an entire hour, his eyes lit up, and he sat cross-legged at the center of the grand formation once more. Hiss, this time, he cut both his wrists, and blood spurted out from both sides. The formation lit up again, and the black gas rolled out and enveloped Qi Tianyu completely. Qi Tianyu's blood kept flowing out of his hands and into the formation. His face became paler and paler. At this rate, the blood would run out soon. If the formation was not completely activated when all the blood flowed out, he would definitely pass out or even die right away. Buzzing, when the blood was about to run out, the formation suddenly emitted a bright black light. The black light shot up into the sky, and then suddenly disappeared into the void. Qi Tianyu's eyes lit up. Was it finally going to succeed? Was the legendary demon master from the demonic abyss coming? He held his breath as he waited anxiously. Only a few breaths of time had passed, but Qi Tianyu felt as though hundreds of years had passed. At this moment, the void suddenly fluctuated. Following that, a black aura spread out from the void. The black aura converged in the void, eventually forming a pair of gigantic eyes. Looking at the eyes, Qi Tianyu trembled all over. He felt that the eyes were even more terrifying than when he saw the ferocious beasts when he was young. The eyes made his soul turn cold, and he felt frozen all over. It was like a rabbit seeing its natural enemy, instinctively frightened. "Are you the one who summoned me?" A cold voice resounded in Qi Tianyu's soul. This voice caused Qi Tianyu to feel terrified. His body went limp and he almost collapsed. As a young master of the Qi family, Qi Tianyu's pride prevented him from kneeling. He gritted his teeth and said, "You are the demon master of the demonic abyss?" "Yes." The demon master didn't waste time and said quickly, "I can only condense my avatar for 15 minutes. If you continue to waste time, when my avatar disappears, you won't have the chance anymore." Qi Tianyu's face darkened. He gritted his teeth and said, "I want to go to the demonic abyss, but I have a condition." "You have no condition," the demon master said coldly. "You are only qualified to be my demon slave if you obey me absolutely. If you perform well, I will give you a gift. Remember, if you become my demon slave, you are not qualified to make conditions with your master." "Then I would rather die." Qi Tianyu's pride made him unwilling. He gritted his teeth and said, "I am willing to fall into the demonic abyss forever because I want revenge. If I don't even have the chance to get revenge, why would I go to the demonic abyss?" "Revenge? Ah." The demon master laughed and said, "Then you have come to the right place. Also, I can tell you clearly that the demonic abyss has been planning for many years. Soon, they will attack your world, so you will have the chance to get revenge. You are considered a powerhouse in the human race, and you may be able to improve after going to the demonic abyss. You may even have the chance to become the demon master. At that time, you can dominate a region and lead the demonic abyss army to attack the third heaven. You can take revenge however you want." "The demonic abyss will attack the third heaven?" Qi Tianyu didn't deny it and said, "There are many powerhouses in the third heaven. You want to attack the third heaven with just the demons of the demonic abyss?" "Ah." The demon master didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, "Young man, that is because you don't understand the demonic abyss. Our demonic abyss is not smaller than the third heaven. There are many powerhouses. Above us there are the demon lords and demon ancestors, and there used to be a lot of them. Every demon lord's strength is no weaker than your emperor realm. Do you really think that the demonic abyss is a small world? It is a big world that is similar to your world." Qi Tianyu was startled. He didn't see these things in the family's secret history. He pondered for a moment, and his body began to tremble. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Okay, I will join the demonic abyss. I want revenge. I will cut God of Massacre Lu into 1,000 pieces and cut him into 1,000 pieces." "Very good." The demon master smiled and said with a bewitching tone, "Young man, the demonic abyss welcomes you. Open your heart completely. I will bring you to a magical and beautiful world." Chapter 2603. 3 days later, the Qi family found out about Qi Tianyu's death. The Qi family did not give up on Qi Tianyu. After all, He was a 5 tribulation pinnacle and a direct descendant. Qi Tianyu's jade life talisman was monitored. Once he died, it was immediately discovered. The Qi family kept an eye on him. After his jade life talisman shattered, Qi Tianyu's father immediately brought people to investigate. In the end, they found Qi Tianyu sitting cross-legged on a strange formation. His entire body was drained of blood. He looked like a mummy. His death was very tragic. Qi Tianyu's father was inconsolable. Another elder came in with Qi Tianyu's father. He noticed the formation and felt that Qi Tianyu's death was not right. He immediately reported this matter. The family took it very seriously. An old ancestor looked at the formation and his expression changed. This is a formation to summon the demon master. This bastard actually dared to surrender to the demonic abyss? The old ancestor roared furiously and reported the situation. The Qi family was greatly shaken. The demonic abyss was the mortal enemy of all humans. It was the mortal enemy of this world. A direct descendant of the Qi family actually surrendered to the demonic abyss? If this matter was spread, the entire Qi family would become a public enemy. The Qi family head gathered the elders to discuss for an afternoon. Finally, they decided to permanently expel Qi Tianyu from the Qi family to avoid implicating the Qi family in the future. Qi Tianyu's father was also one of the elders. He was still immersed in the pain of losing his son. When he heard that Qi Tianyu was expelled from the family permanently, he immediately said angrily, "Tianyu's extreme behavior is definitely related to Death God Lu. I suggest that the family invite experts to enter the Dao Heaven realm and capture Death God Lu. This child dared to steal the family king's divine weapon. This crime cannot be forgiven. He must be severely punished." Many elders agreed with Qi Tianyu's father's words. One elder said, "That's right. The family king sent down a divine decree to pay close attention to this matter. We have yet to give the family king a reasonable explanation. I feel that the family king definitely does not want his treasure to wander outside. Therefore, we must still do something." What a joke! At this moment, the second elder sneered and said, "The whole story is very clear. It was Qi Tianyu who sought death. After entering the Dao Heaven realm, he targeted Massacre God Lu in every possible way and even used the 7-colored glazed pagoda to suppress Massacre God Lu. If Death God Lu hadn't reverse refined the 7-colored glazed pagoda, he would probably have died inside. Moreover, if he hadn't reverse refined the 7-colored glazed pagoda, Ding Dong and that girl from the Xiang family would have died long ago. Qi Tianyu was the one who walked the wrong path, but he blamed others. Why don't you reflect on whether you've indulged him too much all these years? Furthermore, he took the initiative to seek refuge with the demon abyss. This is an unforgivable crime, so there's no need to clear his name. Qi Tianyu's father was anxious. Just as he was about to explain, the head of the Qi family, Qi Wangshan, waved his hand and shouted, "Enough, stop arguing." Qi Tianyu reaped what he sowed. There was no need to discuss this matter anymore. As for the matter of Godslayer Lu, second brother, follow me to meet the family king and report the situation to him. We'll ask the family king how to deal with it. All right, all of you are dismissed. Qi Wangshan waved his hand domineeringly and said, "During this period of time, the intelligence hall will pay close attention everywhere. It seems like the demon abyss is planning to take action. They are best at secretly controlling human experts. Don't let those vermin lurk in the frigid sea domain. When the time comes, we'll be caught off guard." Qi Wangshan brought second elder out of the castle. The two entered another castle and teleported away. A white light flashed, and the two arrived at the foot of a green mountain. This mountain was very ordinary, and there was a river at the foot of the mountain. The environment was very beautiful. A small winding path led to the top of the mountain. The two didn't dare to fly, so they climbed up the stairs. Their footsteps were very light, and their expressions were solemn. The two walked for the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn before they reached the top of the mountain. There was an ancient temple at the top of the mountain. The two didn't walk into the ancient temple, but walked to a small pavilion at the back. The pavilion was at the edge of the cliff, and there was a middle-aged man standing with his hands behind his back facing the two. The man's other hand was holding an ancient scroll. The man had jet-black hair and wore a green Taoist robe. At this moment, a light breeze was blowing, and he gave people a feeling of floating in the air. Plop! Qi Huangshan and Second Elder looked at this person straight back, their eyes filled with worship and respect. The two of them knelt down and kowtowed heavily. "Greetings, Clan King. Rise." A voice that was as calm as water sounded. The two of them bowed 3 times before standing up. Qi Huangshan cupped his hands and reported, "Clan King, there are some things that we would like to report to you recently. There are also some things that we would like to ask for your guidance on." The Samsara Emperor did not reply. He only waved his hand, indicating for Qi Huangshan to continue. Qi Huangshan reported the matters of the heaven realm. He did not exaggerate and only reported it as it was. After that, he told them about Qi Tianyu's matter. Finally, Qi Huangshan cupped his hands and said, "Clan King, we did not discipline Tianyu well. Clan King, please punish us." Sigh, the Samsara Emperor sighed slightly and said, "What should come has finally come. This matter is not your fault. A while ago, I observed the sky at night and discovered that the Qi clan would definitely have a calamity. I'm afraid this calamity will appear on that child, Tianyu. Actually, when this child was born, I could see that he had a demonic nature in his bones. Sooner or later, something would happen to him. Because of the demonic nature in his body, after he goes to the Devil Abyss, he will rise rapidly and become a top-notch existence in the Devil Abyss. At that time, the Qi clan will definitely be implicated." This, Qi Huangshan and Second Elder looked at each other. Their faces were filled with astonishment. The two of them did not doubt the Samsara Emperor's words at all. However, the Samsara Emperor's words were too mysterious, right? Qi Tianyu would rise rapidly after going to the Devil Abyss? In the end, he would become a top-notch existence in the Devil Abyss? The evil king's Dark Star is dim, and the myrtle Dark Star is bright. One calamity, one life, everything has its own destiny. The Samsara Emperor suddenly said again, "The child who refined the 7-colored glazed pagoda and suppressed Tianyu is called Massacre God Lu." "That's right." Second Elder hurriedly bowed and said, "This child appeared out of nowhere. Not only did he bring Ding Dong and the others out from that strange small world, he also refined the 7-colored glazed pagoda and broke the divine pattern to save Ding Dong and the others. Now, he should have seen through some kind of rule in the Tao Heaven realm. He brought Ding Dong and a girl from the Xiong clan to stay in the Tao Heaven realm. He might be the Myrtle Imperial Star, the new generation Imperial Star." The Reincarnation Emperor suddenly said, causing Qi Huang Mountain and the Second Elder to be shocked. He said, "Tianyu is indeed the evil king Imperial Star. He was able to suppress Tianyu and force her into the Demon Abyss, so it's very likely that he's the Myrtle Imperial Star. Let's give that pagoda to him. It will be considered a good karma between the Qi clan and him. In the future, if I am no longer around, the Qi clan will be preserved because of him." "No longer around? Clan Monarch?" Qi Huangshan and Second Elder trembled and hurriedly knelt down. Qi Huangshan said nervously, "Clan Monarch, don't say that. The Qi clan cannot do without you." The Second Elder's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. The Reincarnation Emperor still had a very long lifespan. In the entire Third Heaven, there were only a handful of people who could rival him. Why did the Reincarnation Emperor say that he was no longer around? "Don't panic." The Samsara Emperor waved his hand and said, "Birth, old age, sickness and death, everything has its own destiny. This time, the Qi clan is facing a great calamity. If they can survive it, it will naturally be a happy ending. If they can't, it is also fate. Treat massacre god Lu well. If I am not wrong, the Qi clan's calamity will eventually need him to solve. Alright, don't ask any more. In less than 100 years, you will understand. You may leave. Chapter 2604. In the Heaven Path universe, Lu Li, Qi Dingdong and Qi Dingdong had been cultivating for half a year. They had been cultivating for half a year but to no avail. Lu Li didn't make much progress on the 11 symbols and he didn't make much progress on soul skills either. Apart from the increase in divine energy and the improvement of his soul, there was nothing else to be gained. Cultivating in the primitive secret realm was wonderful. Cultivating divine energy here was tens of thousands of times faster than outside. 1 year of cultivation here was equivalent to 10,000 years of cultivation. Here, the soul would grow automatically. Lu Li's progress was even faster as he consumed the elixirs. Divine energy and soul were the foundation. Lu Li's foundation had always been shaky. Now, he was cultivating in the primitive secret realm to strengthen his foundation. Only with a solid foundation could he gradually improve his realm. Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong didn't make much progress either, especially Xiang Linglong. She was at the peak of the 5th tribulation and she had just made the breakthrough. It would be difficult for her to make another breakthrough right away. Qi Dingdong's mind was not on cultivation but on Lu Li. As soon as Lu Li came out, she woke up at once. She flew over in a gust of wind. Looking at Lu Li with a sweet smile, she said, "Brother Azura, have you made any progress during the half a year?" Lu Li felt a bit awkward when he heard the words, "Brother God of Slaughter." He thought about it and said, "Ding Dong, actually, God of Slaughter is my nickname. My real name is Lu Li. You can just call me Lu Li from now on." "Then I will call you Brother Lu Li." Qi Dingdong's eyes turned into crescent moons. Was it an improvement that Lu Li could tell her his real name? It meant that Lu Li trusted her completely and accepted her. Lu Li shrugged. He didn't know who was older, him or Qi Dingdong, but Lu Li was clearly more mature and more like an older brother. It was okay for her to call him that. They would be staying together for a while. Lu Li didn't care about such details. "Lu Li? Azura Lu?" Xiang Linglong floated over. Her cold face formed a sharp contrast with Qi Dingdong's sweet smile. She only nodded slightly as she walked over. Her willowy eyebrows were furrowed, clearly unhappy. "Have you reached a bottleneck in cultivation?" Lu Li asked. Xiang Linglong nodded and said, "There is one thing that I can't figure out. I have a headache." "Then don't think about it. Rest well for a few days and sleep." Lu Li grinned, waved to Ding Dong Qi and said, "Ding Dong, set things up. I will go catch some beasts and we will barbecue them." "Great, great." Qi Ding Dong smiled and quickly took out all sorts of things to set up. Exquisite Long didn't think too much and helped Qi Ding Dong set up. Lu Li rushed out of the valley by himself. There was a forest outside. He randomly caught some small beasts that looked fat. He walked to the stream at the side and dealt with a few small animals. Then, he walked back and took out some seasonings to roast the meat. His barbecue skills were pretty good. Although he hadn't done it for a few years, his skills hadn't fallen behind. A few small beasts were roasted to a golden yellow color, and the fragrance assailed their nostrils. In fact, the two women had not eaten this kind of food for many years, but their appetites were greatly increased as they watched from the side. After eating a few pieces, they were full of praise. Watching the two of them eat was also a kind of enjoyment. The two of them ate very elegantly, tearing apart the meat bit by bit and wiping away any stains at the corner of their mouth. Lu Li wanted to laugh, but he was too shy to do so, seeing that the two of them were eager to eat. Chi Ding Dong took out some fine wine and some fruit. The three of them enjoyed the meal and then took a nap in their tent. When Luli woke up, he didn't see the two. Out of instinct, he used psychic power to check the surroundings. He noticed some movement in the stream nearby. The two seemed to be bathing, but they had set up a simple inhibition formation that Luli could not use psychic power to see in. As a matter of fact, Luli could use the trace of Great Tao. Such a small inhibition formation would not stop him, but he didn't dare to do so. That would be disrespectful to the two. He was not a man without class. Whoosh! Right at that moment, Blood Fairy suddenly came back. She talked to Luli for a while. Luli was intrigued. After some thoughts, he got up and walked downstream to take a bath. When he came back in a new robe, the two girls had finished bathing. Their faces were blushing. Chi Ding Dong was afraid to look at Luli while Exquisite glared at him. "What is it?" Luli was puzzled. Xiang Linglong glared at him again and said, "We were bathing. Why did you use psychic power to check?" Luli rolled his eyes. "I couldn't see you when I woke up. Of course I had to check. Also, didn't you set up inhibition formations? My psychic power cannot see through your inhibition formations. Your attainment in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions is so high, who knows if you can see through it or not?" Xiang Linglong countered. Luli raised his hands in surrender. "My lady, I, Luli, am not a good person. But at least, I have a bottom line and principles. I will not do something so immoral." "All right." Chi Ding Dong took Xiang Linglong's hands and said, "Brother Lu is not like that." "Linglong, stop." Xiang Linglong said nothing more. She trusted Luli's character. If Luli wanted to see Chi Ding Dong's body or even hers, he didn't have to peek. Chi Ding Dong would probably take off Luli's clothes if he just beckoned. If Luli could stay with her and stay here for such a long time, maybe they could make the breakthrough as well. If they could cultivate here for 100 years, or even hundreds of years. If she stayed with Luli, would she be able to take a bunch of kids with her when they left? Xiang Linglong's cheeks were burning at this thought. Luli noticed the burning look on Xiang Linglong's face. He thought she was shy, so he didn't mind. Luli changed the subject. "I am going to have a look around. Do you want to go with me? I have a goblin spirit and she has found a strange place." "A strange place?" Chi Ding Dong's eyes glowed. She said with excitement, "I want to go, I want to go." Xiang Linglong frowned. "There are several places nearby. But they all have powerful inhibition formations, right? Luli, are you sure you can solve them?" "Of course." Luli nodded with certainty. Blood Fairy had told him that she could solve the inhibition formations easily. Xiang Linglong nodded. "Let's go and see what is so special about that place. There is a small pond over there," Luli explained. "The water in that pond is different from regular water. I think it is some kind of liquid. There are 5 herbs near the pond, all of which are over 10,000 years old. But not only are there inhibition formations, there is also a ferocious beast. I don't know how strong it is. We have to go and check." "Wow, wow." Chapter 2605. Hundreds of millions of miles to the west of the Valley of Tao Inquiry, there was another valley, large and famous. Over the course of history, many people wanted to go in. However, not even lords could go in. As for emperors, no one knew. This is the legendary Valley of Soul of Destruction. Chi Ding Dong stood outside the valley. He took a few looks and said with fear, "A forefather of our family once went in. When he came out, his soul was badly injured. He has been insane and died after a decade." "Okay." Luli nodded. "The patterns here can affect souls. How about this? I will go in and have a look. When I am sure it is safe, I will take you in." "No." Xiang Linglong said without hesitation, I trust you. I will go with you. Qi Dingdong was not to be outdone. I trust you as well. Let's go together. I want to see what kind of patterns there are in there. Let's go. Luli had absolute trust in Blood Fairy. If she said she could solve the patterns, then she must be able to do it. Blood Fairy led the way as well. Luli, Qi Dingdong and Qi Dingdong walked into the valley. The valley was not a simple opening. It was a long valley. On the surface, it did not look like much. However, as soon as they stepped into the valley, they sensed danger and danger lurking everywhere. Master, I have solved some. Come with me, Blood Fairy said. Luli and Qi Dingdong followed her. Blood Fairy's route was strange. She would go to the left and then to the right. She would take a detour every now and then. Both Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong noticed Blood Fairy, and that Luli was following her. Well, Brother Luli, what is that? Qi Dingdong followed Luli and looked at Blood Fairy with curiosity. Luli explained with a smile, she is a goblin. She can detect patterns. You don't have to worry about patterns when you are with her. She is very good at detecting patterns. Luli did not give too many details. Blood Fairy was one of his secret weapons. He would not share the entire situation with anyone other than his closest family. The three of them followed Blood Fairy. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, they finally entered the valley. From the beginning to the end, the three of them didn't touch any divine runes, which made Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong sigh in amazement. Inside the valley was a forest. Luli stopped outside the forest and said solemnly, Don't move. That was the first divine pattern outside. There are more in the forest, more powerful than the one at the entrance of the valley. Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong felt something was off as well. The forest was gloomy and uncomfortable. Luli stood outside the forest, waiting for Blood Fairy's message. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Blood Fairy transmitted, Master, the divine inscriptions here are very strong. We have 2 options. One is to use treasures to fly across the forest. That pagoda of yours should be able to withstand the attacks of the divine inscriptions. There's another way, and that's to forcefully break through the divine inscriptions and open up a path in this forest. The first one. Luli didn't hesitate. There was no doubt that the sovereign weapon was powerful. Since Blood Fairy said that they could use treasures to fly across the forest, what else should he worry about? He took out the 7-colored glazed pagoda and told Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong. Without any hesitation, Luli let them in. But he did not activate the divine inscriptions or else they would suffer. Luli came in as well. He flew the sovereign weapon up into the forest. It was as if he had poked a hornet's nest. The forest was in chaos. The leaves here were like needles. At this moment, many of the leaves turned into needles and dashed toward the 7-colored glazed pagoda. Bang, 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 bang! With some muffled noises, the leaves landed on the 7-colored glazed pagoda like raindrop. The pagoda glowed in 7 colors and flickered. This is strong. Luli was taken aback. The 7-colored glazed pagoda had energy. At the moment, Luli could feel the energy flowing away. Fortunately, compared to the 7-colored glazed pagoda, it could withstand the attacks. If it were the heaven separation bead, it would have been destroyed in the first round of attacks. Wow, wow, wow! Luli activated the divine inscriptions on the 7-colored glazed pagoda that could detect psychic power. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong could use psychic power to check. When Qi Dingdong saw the sky full of leaves shooting over like thousands of arrows, he was shocked. The divine inscriptions here are strong. Xiang Linglong was shocked. While flying the 7-colored glazed pagoda forward, Luli explained, the needles are not only physical attacks, but also soul attacks. There must be some special energy in the needles. Once they pierce into the body, there will be soul attack. That is horrifying! Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong exclaimed. If they had gone into the forest without knowing what was going on, they would have been turned into porcupines. Even if they could make it out alive, they would have turned into a lunatic like that forefather of the Qi family. Whoosh! The seven-colored glazed pagoda was strong. It carried Lu Li, Xiang Linglong and Xiang Linglong across the forest and landed in the valley. The valley was vast. They could not see the end of it. In the distance they could see a pond like a lake. Lu Li did not go over rashly. He flew the seven-colored glazed pagoda down and let Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong out. Blood Fairy sensed that there was a powerful beast in the lake. Lu Li wanted to find out the truth before taking any action. Lu Li told them not to use psychic power. He said to Blood Fairy, build some dojos with divine inscriptions first. Trap formations, formations of destruction, and formations of illusion. Later, we will lure the beast over. This way, it will be easier for us to kill it. Blood Fairy sprang into action. Lu Li was not in a hurry, fearing that he might alarm the beast. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong held their breath. They stood on Lu Li's left and right. An hour later, Blood Fairy was done. Lu Li closed his eyes and used the trace of the Great Path to sense the situation in the lake. There is a beast. Lu Li sensed something. He sensed a strong presence in the lake. It was vigorous, like a blood moon. But that beast was not large in size. It was in the shape of a human. It had a pair of wings on its back, a fox-like head, white fur, and a silver glare in its eyes. Here it is. Lu Li opened his eyes all of a sudden. Linglong, Dingdong, step back for 2 miles and find a chance to help. We will kill the beast first and then go and pick the herb. Woo! With a shrill noise, a white blur flew out from the lake toward Lu Li. It was so fast that in the blink of an eye, it was already in front of Lu Li. 2 sharp claws with a ghastly aura were aimed at Lu Li's face. Lu Li grinned. He did not move. Waving his hand, he said, "It is easy to get in, but it is not easy to get out. Activate formation." As soon as Lu Li waved his hand, he felt the weather changed. The sky changed color. Rays of light came up from the ground. White mist lingered around, covering up the space like a net. Lu Li and the beast vanished into the white mist. P.S. I'm stuck so hard that I want to die. Chapter 2606. Buzzing. Several dojos lit up. Many patterns in the shape of a net were glowing, cutting off the space where Lu Li and the beast were. The beast was surrounded by many lines. Woo woo, the fierce beast roared. It was very fast and slammed into the web-like lines. The fierce beast issued a mournful howl and immediately retreated. However, there were more lines in the shape of a net. As soon as the beast touched the lines, the white fur burst into flames. The beast screamed in pain. "Well done, Blood Fairy. You have made some progress," Lu Li said to Blood Fairy after a few glances. The entrapment formation had trapped the beast. It would be much easier to kill it. Woo! The ferocious beasts released powerful blood energy that resembled blood moons. They roared and charged in several directions. Every time the beast bumped into the net, it would be injured. The beast would let out ghost-like cries that hurt Lu Li's eardrums. But Lu Li knew that the beast could not be killed by divine glyph. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he observed carefully to see what other skills the beast had. He sensed that the beast was horrifying. It must have some special skills. Whoosh! Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong came in. But there was an illusion here. The two of them wandered around and became lost. Lu Li watched them walking around him with a smile. Whoosh! He dashed to the two. They were scared. Xiang Linglong almost used her sovereign weapon. Lu Li said with a smile, "It's me." Xiang Linglong rolled her eyes. Qi Dingdong patted her chest and said, "Brother Lu Li, you scared me. Come with me." Luli took Qi Dingdong's hand. The latter put on a sweet smile. Luli glanced at Xiang Linglong. After some thoughts, he reached out his other hand to hold her. Xiang Linglong froze. She wanted to get rid of Luli's hand, but for some strange reason, she did not. She let Luli lead her into the cave. One of their hands was small and delicate, while the other was long and slender. Especially Linglong's hand, it felt warm and comfortable to the touch. Luli was being generous. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong, on the other hand, were blushing. They were shy. Luli led them out of the illusion. They felt their eyes lit up and they saw the beast trapped in the illusion. Qi Dingdong's breathing became hurried, her eyes filled with fear as she said, "This is the legendary silver fur pupil beast. It should not be an adult or we would all be in trouble." Exquisite Xiang looked at it for a moment, then nodded and said, "That's right. This is indeed a silver-furred eye beast. It doesn't seem to be an adult. An adult silver-furred eye beast is as strong as a lord. We'll be in danger if we encounter one." Luli was curious. He asked, "What kind of beast is this silver fur? Does it have any powerful skills?" "Yes," Xiang Linglong explained, "it's a sound wave attack. Their howls are very frightening. Right now, it's just ordinary howls. Once they release their innate divine ability, that kind of howl will be terrifying. Those with weak souls will directly collapse." Luli asked with a frown, "That is soul attack?" "Yes and no." Xiang Linglong shook her head and said, "Because enchanted souls cannot stand this kind of attack. They have to rely on their souls. Those with strong souls can." "Luli, your soul is not strong, is it? How about we do the attacking later?" "Don't bother." Luli shook his head and said, "Just use the 7-colored glazed pagoda. As long as it is sucked in, it will have to coil up even if it's a dragon." "Yes, that's true." Xiang Linglong nodded. Qi Dingdong said with pride, "Yes, yes. The family patriarch's relic weapon is very powerful. Regular lords can be turned into ashes if they are suppressed in it. Brother Luli, go and get those silver-furred pupiled beasts." "Okay." Luli took out the 7-colored glazed pagoda. First, he shrunk the pagoda and sneaked into the space in the net. After that, the pagoda returned to its normal size. Howl howl, the silver-furred eye beast seemed to have sensed danger. It let out more miserable howls. The sound was so horrifying that Luli felt his head was about to explode. There was a creepy feeling all over his body. That feeling was extremely uncomfortable. Qi Dingdong covered his ears. Xiang Linglong felt better, but Luli felt his eardrums were about to explode. A glint of ferocity rose in his eyes. He activated the 7-colored glazed pagoda at once. Buzzing! The 7-colored glazed pagoda glowed in 7 colors. Air currents danced around the 7-colored glazed pagoda. A surge of majestic energy spread out from the 7-colored glazed pagoda. At that moment, it was as if an emperor had arrived in person. Howl, 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 the silver-furred eye beast was even more frightened. It let out a cry that was much louder than before. This time, not even Luli could stand it anymore. His eardrums were about to explode. Luli held his head and rolled around in pain. Xiang Linglong dragged him away at once, trying to get out of the plaza. Blood Fairy was smart. She cancelled the illusion at once. Xiang Linglong took Luli away for a couple of miles to the edge of the forest. Qi Dingdong left as well. The 7-colored glazed pagoda began to spin. The door at the bottom opened. A strong force enveloped the silver-furred eye beast. That silver-furred eye beast let out more deafening roars. Qi Dingdong could not stand it anymore. He sat on the ground, holding his head and kept howling. Fortunately, the 7-colored glazed pagoda had taken the silver-furred eye beast in. Luli and Qi Dingdong felt better. Xiang Linglong was in pain as well. If it were not for Luli, she would have fallen to the ground as well. Since Luli was in so much pain, Xiang Linglong had to hold him and drag him. Unavoidably, their bodies touched. Xiang Linglong was dizzy as well. She did not mind. The two of them were entangled together. It was quite an ambiguous scene. Soon, Xiang Linglong came back to her senses. She realized that an important part of her body was grabbed by a hand. She was enraged and wanted to slap Lu Li away. But she saw that Lu Li's face was pale and cold sweat was running down his forehead. He did not seem to be doing this on purpose. She put down her hand in the air. After some thoughts, she moved to the side. Boom! Lu Li fell to the ground. He looked at Xiang Linglong in confusion. Wasn't she holding him? Why did she let him go? What? Lu Li noticed that Xiang Linglong was blushing. He remembered that the part he grabbed was soft. Did he grab the wrong part? He raised his hand again and looked at Xiang Linglong. When he saw the shame and anger in her eyes, he immediately felt awkward. It was as if his head no longer hurt. It feels good. Nice. Chapter 2607. What? Qi Dingdong shivered in the cold wind. She was thousands of feet away from Lu Li and Xiang Linglong could control herself. Therefore, the cold wave did not reach Qi Dingdong. That being said, Qi Dingdong felt cold all over and her headache was gone. She looked over and saw that Lu Li had turned into an ice sculpture. She asked in surprise, Sister Linglong, what did Brother Lu do? Are you going to freeze him? Xiang Linglong blushed but said nothing. Lu Li broke out from the ice and said awkwardly, It is my fault. I just pushed Linglong. The headache went away as quickly as it came. The silver-furred beast's attack was impressive. Lu Li exclaimed that it was like a horn that could ignore enchanted souls and directly attack the soul. Lu Li waved his hand and let the seven-colored glazed pagoda come back. He activated the pagoda to dissolve the beast. The flames began to burn and the gray and brown energies began to attack as well. The beast dashed around and struck at the walls. Its claws were sharp and its strength was horrifying. That being said, this was a sovereign weapon with marks of laws left by the Reincarnation Emperor. It would not be a sovereign weapon if it could be cracked so easily. Lu Li checked for a moment and then let it go. As the beast lost its vitality, it would become a sick tiger. He could kill it and torture it at will. Lu Li told Blood Fairy to deactivate the divine rune. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong tidied up their appearances and came over. Xiang Linglong pulled a long face. She did not show Lu Li any friendliness. Qi Dingdong was confused. Lu Li did not want to explain or say more. The more he explained, the worse it would be. If he did not say more, it would be over soon. After Blood Fairy deactivated the divine rune, Lu Li said, Let's go and see what kind of herbs there are. Wow, wow, Qi Dingdong became excited and quickly ran forward. She actually did not have much desire for the godly medicine, because she did not have any concept of godly medicine at all. The Qi family had all kinds of herbs. She grew up in a pool of herbs. What she cared more about was the sense of accomplishment. Just like fishing, many people didn't care about the fish, but the joy of catching it. Qi Dingdong hurried over. Seeing that Xiang Linglong was still upset, Lu Li slowed down on purpose and walked side by side with her. Lu Li touched his nose in embarrassment and said, There are 5 miraculous herbs here. You and Dingdong can take one each. No. Xiang Linglong snorted and said, Do you think this matter can be resolved with a single divine herb? You're dreaming, humph. My young mistress. Lu Li kept begging for mercy. I didn't mean it. I was wrong. I will apologize to you, okay? If it really doesn't work, I'll get it back for you, okay? Bah. Exquisite Elephant spat and said angrily, Are you itching for a beating? Are you looking for a beating? Hee hee. Lu Li smiled and said, Okay, don't be angry. You won't be pretty if you are. You're the most beautiful when you smile, just like a snow lotus blooming silently on a high mountain. It's enchanting. Exquisite Elephant didn't blush because of Lu Li's words. Instead, she felt sweet inside. She looked into Lu Li's eyes for a while and said seriously, Lu Li, if you don't want to stay, then don't flirt with me. I don't want to hate you for the rest of my life. Okay. Lu Li touched his nose again, feeling a little embarrassed. Ling Long wasn't Chi Ding Dong. She was a very rational person, and it could even be said that she was a very cold person. Once she was aroused, things wouldn't be as simple as they seemed. Exquisite Elephant didn't want to get too involved, so she made it clear to Lu Li. Either you stay or you don't want to go on like this. Otherwise, it will hurt both of us. I am sorry, Lu Li said in a serious tone, then silently walked towards the lakeside. Exquisite Elephant's eyes dimmed down. It seemed that Lu Li didn't want to stay, so there would be no future between them. Looking at Lu Li's back, Exquisite Elephant felt pain in her heart. Tears slid down her cheeks. Drip. Her tears fell to the ground, which woke Exquisite Elephant up. She turned around and wiped her tears away. She had always been a self-reliant person. She didn't like to show her feelings. She didn't want Lu Li to see how fragile she was. Wow, passion leaf with 13 leaves. It must be at least 30,000 years old. What is this? Is this the legendary elephant grass? It must be at least 30,000 years old. Huigua, it really exists, Chi Ding Dong exclaimed. As a young lady of the Chi family, she naturally had a good understanding of miraculous herbs. This was one of the compulsory lessons for her since she was a kid. She had recognized 4 of the 5 miraculous herbs. She didn't know the last one. Exquisite Elephant, come over and have a look. What is this miraculous herb? Chi Ding Dong didn't notice Exquisite Elephant's expression. She waved her hand and said, Come and have a look. This miraculous herb is like a small golden dragon. Xiang Linglong didn't want Chi Ding Dong to notice anything. She hurried over. Soon, her attention was attracted by a miraculous herb in the pond. That miraculous herb was swimming around in the pond like a small golden dragon. When they got closer, the miraculous herb swam away. Lu Li didn't look at the miraculous herbs because they couldn't run away. He looked at the liquid in the pond. The water was not average. It was white and had a faint fragrance. It should be some kind of liquid. But Lu Li didn't know what it could do. What? Lu Li used psychic power to check. He saw a cabin on the other side of the lake. It was in the woods over there. Lu Li didn't notice it at first. I will go and have a look, Lu Li said. He walked along the lake and soon arrived at the cabin. He checked with psychic power to make sure nothing was wrong. Then, he pushed the door open and went in. There was not a speck of dust in the cabin. There was a cattail hassock with some marks on it. So, Lu Li must have cultivated here. Lu Li stood in the cabin for a while. He could faintly see a man sitting on the cattail hassock. There were marks on the cattail hassock. Lu Li walked out of the cabin and walked around. He saw a small stone tablet by the lake in front of the cabin. On the tablet were 3 words, Lake of Lunar. Lake of Lunar? Lu Li frowned. He didn't understand the meaning of the 3 words. He squatted by the lake, trying to scoop up some miraculous herb to consume. Punk, don't do anything rash. Blood Evil King's voice suddenly came to Lu Li's mind. He said, If you put your hand in, you will turn into a pile of bones. Try me if you don't believe me. Lu Li stepped back in fear. He also told Xiang Linglong and Chi Ding Dong not to go in. He asked, Evil King, is there something wrong with the water? This is water of lunar heaven. Chapter 2608. Water of Lunar Heaven? Luli was surprised. He looked at the elixirs in the lake and said, "So, we can only look at them but not touch them?" The elixirs could not be picked at random or else their effects would be compromised. The elixirs were all in the water. If they were taken out by force, the elixirs might be destroyed. Yes. Blood Evil Emperor thought about it and said, "As a matter of fact, the water of lunar heaven is suitable for you to cultivate your body. But you must take a kind of elixir, golden blaze fruit. Only with this kind of fruit can you resist the corrosive power of the water of lunar heaven for a short time. If you can absorb a small amount of water of lunar heaven, you will be able to resist it. If you can absorb a large amount of water of lunar heaven, then your body will be strengthened by several times, maybe more than 10 times. Really? Luli was overjoyed. He flew over to Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong and asked, "Do you know about golden blaze fruit? I have some elixirs. I wonder if there are any. Can you help me?" "Golden blaze fruit? I have some." Qi Dingdong was surprised and then he smiled. His ring glowed as he took out 10 golden fruit. He gave them to Luli and said, "Brother Lu, this is all I have. You can have them all." "I have 8 as well." Xiang Linglong's ring glowed as she handed it over and said, "These fruits are to protect us from the cold. We have them in reserve just in case. But we are not kids anymore and we will not be so reckless. So, we don't have too many with us." "Okay." Luli took them over and sent a message to Blood Evil Emperor. He was delighted. 1 golden blaze fruit could help him survive for a few breaths. If he could slowly absorb some of the lunar heavenly water, his body would definitely improve greatly. At that time, as long as he could resist the lunar heavenly water, he would be able to cultivate in the lake. In the end, after absorbing enough lunar heavenly water, his body would be strengthened by several times. Given Lu Li's current physical strength, it was difficult for him to improve it, not to mention to make it several times stronger at once. Lu Li would not go out of his way to improve his body, but he would not miss a chance to do so. "Whatever happens later, don't mind me and don't go into the lake. Do you understand? This lake isn't ordinary divine liquid, it's heavenly Een water." Lu Li told them that it would be painful for him to go down into the lake. If they were worried that Lu Li would go and rescue them, they would be in a worse situation. Lunar heavenly water? Qi Dingdong had heard of this divine liquid before and revealed a trace of fear. She even took 2 steps back and exclaimed, "I didn't expect this to be the lunar heavenly water. This thing was said to be an extremely Een item in the world. It could corrode anything, no matter how hard it was." Even a sovereign weapon would be corroded after being soaked in it for thousands of years. This divine liquid of the world actually exists? Xiang Linglong's eyes glowed. She glanced over and said, "Lu Li, this thing should be helpful to my cultivation. But I don't know how to consume it. This thing is very vicious. It's a pity that I have no way of asking the seniors of my clan on how to refine it." "Okay, don't be anxious. I'll try it out first," Lu Li said after some thoughts. He took out a golden blaze fruit and consumed it. He felt a ball of fire was burning inside him. He released the dragon wrestling skill and the heavenly armor skill. Then, he walked to the side of the lake and slowly reached his hand into the lake. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong held their breaths, staring at Lu Li's hand. Lu Li slowly put his hand into the heaven water of lunar heaven. A plume of cyan smoke came up. Lu Li shouted in pain and took his hand back at once. However, he felt his hand was being burned. The skin on his hand was burnt, which was a ghastly sight. Qi Dingdong shouted in alarm. She walked over to Lu Li, took out some healing pellets and said, "Brother Lu, you are hurt. Take care of yourself." Lu Li waved his hand and said, "This is nothing. I don't need to take care of myself. I will recover by myself." Lu Li had been cultivating his body for a long time, and he had suffered too much. This kind of injury was nothing to him. He didn't even mind. His eyes sparkled as he grinned and said, "All right, this lunar heavenly water can't kill me. I'll go into the lake to collect the divine medicine later. Don't worry about me, I won't die. Don't go into the lake no matter what." "You are going?" Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong looked at each other in dismay. Qi Dingdong quickly said, "Brother Lu, don't take the risk. It's not worth it for a few divine herbs. If you want divine herbs, I'll give all of them to you." "It is not the herbs." Lu Li shook his head and said with a smile, "I am going to consume the water. I want to try to do so. If I can, then my body will be improved by several times." "Several times?" Xiang Linglong was surprised. She knew very well how strong Lu Li's body was. If it could be improved by several times, then his body would be as strong as a warrior at the peak of the fifth tribulation. Lu Li and Xiang Linglong looked at each other. Xiang Linglong nodded. Lu Li consumed another golden blaze fruit and then dashed into the lake. Qi Dingdong was scared. Her face turned pale. She ran over to Xiang Linglong, stopped her and said, "Don't do anything rash. Lu Li knows what he is doing." Whoosh! Lu Li felt his skin was burning as soon as he went in. He rolled around in the lake in pain. But his strong willpower gave him a strong support. He dashed to the bottom of the lake and picked up the two miraculous herbs. Whoosh! Then, he did not dare to delay any longer. Like a sharp sword, he rushed to the lake and rushed into the wooden house. He was so horrifying that he didn't want the two to see it. Hiss, hiss! Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong saw it at first glance. Xiang Linglong covered Qi Dingdong's eyes. She couldn't bear to see it herself, so she turned around. Hiss, hiss! As soon as Lu Li entered the cabin, he rolled around in the cabin. He took out some healing pellets, and then sat down with his legs crossed and divine energy to cultivate with strong willpower. Some of the lunar heaven water had entered his body. He needed to refine the lunar true water so that he would be able to resist the lunar true water. Only then would he be able to slowly absorb the lunar true water to strengthen himself. He sat there for 8 hours. His body could recover quickly and the healing pellets were of the best quality. The injuries on the surface of the skin healed very quickly. Within 2 hours, the injuries on the surface of the skin had mostly healed. Good! Lu Li had consumed some of the heaven water of lunar. Even though he was in pain, his eyes were filled with excitement. He couldn't help but let out a shout and dashed out of the cabin. As long as he could consume it once, he could do it again. Eventually, his physical strength would be improved by several times or even more than 10 times and his abilities would be greatly enhanced. Ah! Pervert! Lu Li's shout attracted Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong's attention. They looked over and saw a naked man. Qi Dingdong and Xiang Linglong's cheeks burned and they shouted in alarm. Damn it! Lu Li was stunned. He covered his private parts and ran away like a frightened rabbit. Extreme joy begets sorrow. Chapter 2609. Xiang Linglong and Qi Dingdong left. They went to stay near the forest, afraid to meet Lu Li face to face. The relationship between them and Lu Li was not clear to begin with. Now it was even more awkward and ambiguous. Lu Li changed his clothes and continued to heal for a while. Then, he went into the lake again. He had only collected 2 miracles. He was ready to collect the other 3. Don't go after that little dragon. That is the peerless miracles that Tao Heaven Patriarch wants to grow. It is not ready yet. Don't waste it. In the future, you can come back and collect it when you have the chance. You can leave it for future generations. Blood Emperor said. Lu Li used psychic power to check on the little golden dragon. It was a miracles that looked like a living creature. It was golden and beautiful. Okay. Lu Li nodded. There must be powerful warriors here. Reincarnation Emperor might have been here. However, no one harvested this divine medicine, because this divine medicine had not completely ripened yet, and no one wanted to recklessly waste such a treasure. Luli would not do something so immoral. After he consumed the golden fire fruit, he went down again and collected the other 2 miracles. Then, he came out at once. He was injured again. He was in a miserable state. He forced himself to sit with his legs crossed. While treating his wounds, he consumed the water of heaven in his avatar. Just as I thought, after a while, Luli noticed that his body was improving. The injuries he suffered this time were not as severe as before. It meant that his resistance to the water of heaven had improved. Just like when he was at the blazing island, staying in flames for a long time would make him resistant to fire. After several hours, Luli's wounds were almost healed. Blood Evil Emperor's voice came through. Punk, consume the gray fruit you just got. It should increase your resistance to the heaven water of Lunar Palace. The fruit can improve your physical strength as well. Luli was excited. He asked how to consume the fruit at once. Blood Emperor told Luli what to do. Luli began to consume the fruit according to Blood Emperor's instructions. The gray fruit was extremely cold. As soon as he consumed it, Luli felt he was frozen. That being said, his physical strength was improving. Anything of extreme yang can refine the body, and so can anything of extreme yin. Luli nodded to himself. He consumed all the energy in his body bit by bit. After 14 hours, he absorbed all the energy. Luli clearly felt his body was stronger. His current physical body's strength was too great. After refining the ash fruit, he could feel an obvious improvement. This meant that the ash fruit was still very strong. After half a day, Luli felt his condition stabilized. Then, he consumed the golden blaze fruit and jumped back into the lake. This time, he felt the damage was not as severe. He did the same thing when he felt he could stay in the lake for a while. When he could no longer, he flew up. He had been cultivating in the lake and had refined quite a bit of the lunar heaven water that had entered his body. He had a feeling that if he did this a few more times, he would be able to completely resist the lunar heaven water. Exquisite Long and Chi Ding Dong didn't dare to come any closer, but they had noticed that Luli had rushed out of the lake, so at least they were safe. The 2 of them didn't worry about Luli anymore. They sat here with their legs crossed and cultivated. When Luli's condition stabilized, they would go over. Chi Ding Dong was an enchantress and she was in love with Luli. That being said, she was still a virgin. She would be shy to see Luli naked, not to mention Linglong. Soon 8 days passed by. Luli only had 1 golden blaze fruit left. He could stand the heaven water of lunar heaven now. He had absorbed a lot of water of miracles during the 8 days. His physical strength had improved and he had developed some resistance to the water of miracles. That being said, he would still be injured in the lake. He could only stay in the water for the time for half an incense stick to burn. He believed that as time went on, he would be able to stay in the lake longer and he would be fine. Another 13 days passed. Chi Ding Dong suddenly noticed that Luli had been in the lake for half a day. She was worried, so she checked with psychic power. She found Luli sitting in the lake with his legs crossed. His skin was intact, but he was also naked. Bah! Chi Ding Dong spat and stopped using psychic power. Xiang Linglong glanced at her and asked, "What is going on?" "Nothing." Chi Ding Dong pouted and said, "That heartless guy. We were so worried about him. He is cultivating in the lake by himself, and he didn't even tell us. He is heartless." Xiang Linglong was surprised. She asked, "He can withstand the water of miracles?" "I think he is okay," Chi Ding Dong explained. "He is soaking in the lake, but his skin is unharmed. I think he can withstand it. You can check with psychic power." "Bah, I am not going to check." Xiang Linglong blushed. She continued to sit with her legs crossed and waited. When there was some movement, she shouted, "Luli, come here when you are healed." Okay. Luli went into the cabin to tend to his wounds. His recovery ability was stronger now. His physical strength had been improved by at least 2 times. His resistance to the water of miracles was improving. One day later, Luli pushed open the cabin door, put on a robe and walked over. Chi Ding Dong opened her eyes, looked at Luli, pouted and said, "Brother Lu, you look weird like this." Luli's hair was gone, his eyebrows and beard were gone. He did look strange. Luli grinned and said, "I am just going to make do. I am cultivating now. I will recover in half a month." Xiang Linglong stood up and said, "Luli, do you have a way for me to use the water of miracles to cultivate? I am cultivating the frigid fundamental principle. If I can use it, the power of my fundamental principle of a law can be enhanced." Let me think. Luli thought about it. Actually, he was asking the Blood Evil Emperor secretly. Luli didn't know much about this, but the Blood Evil Emperor must know. After a while, Luli said, "Linglong, show me your fundamental principle of a law." Okay. Xiang Linglong waved her hands and began to build up her fundamental principle. Soon, the sky was covered with snow. The temperature dropped by many degrees. Many ice dragons were moving around in the air. Suffocating chi and energy came from the ice dragons, making Luli and Chi Ding Dong feel suffocated. Go! Xiang Linglong controlled more than a dozen ice dragons and smashed them into the forest. In an instant they felt the world was shaking. The forest glowed and the ice dragons were stopped. That being said, dozens of trees were crushed. There were pits on the ground. Many trees nearby were frozen. Frigid dragon energy! The Blood Fiend's sovereign transmitted a message in satisfaction. This girl's comprehension of the ice true meaning is very strong. She can even comprehend such a powerful true meaning. In the future, she will have a great chance of breaking through to the Overlord realm. As for whether she can reach the Dharch realm, it will depend on her luck. Blood Evil Emperor thought about it and sent a message to Luli. Luli put on a strange expression. He touched his nose and said, "Linglong, I have a way for you to cultivate in the lake. You can use your frigid dragon energy to freeze yourself and then fall into the lake. But before the ice melts, you must get out. Otherwise, you will end up like me with no eyebrows or hair." What Luli didn't point out was that if Xiang Linglong did not react fast enough, not only would she lose her eyebrows and hair, but her clothes would also be corroded. By then, she would be naked just like him. Chapter 26:10. Soon, Xiang Linglong came back to her senses. She was both ashamed and angry. If that really happened to her and Luli was watching, she would commit suicide out of shame. She was a proud girl. How could she be shameful like this? She would rather not cultivate than to see that happen. Seeing that Xiang Linglong was embarrassed and angry, Luli shrugged and said, "Then there is no other way. You can stay here and cultivate or go to the cabin where there are more marks of Taoism. Or, I can send you to the Valley of Tao Seeking. There are marks of Tao in the cabin. I will go and have a look." Chi Ding Dong ran away, but Xiang Linglong didn't move. She thought for a while and said, "Luli, how about you go out first and let me see if I can cultivate?" "Sure, I can go out." Luli shrugged and said, "But what if something happens to you? Who can get you out?" But Xiang Linglong was confused. She had reached a bottleneck, and it was too difficult for her to make further progress. She could not make it just by studying 1 or 2 fundamental meanings. According to the records in an ancient book that she had read, this heavenly Een water was extremely suitable for people like her who cultivated the true meaning of frost. If she were to use the heavenly Een water to transform Jiang Hanlong's true qi into the even stronger frost dragon divine qi, her battle prowess would increase greatly, and she would be even closer to the Lord Realm. She had been cultivating only the fundamental meaning of ice. As a matter of fact, it was pointless to study other fundamental meanings. Only by improving the fundamental meaning of ice could she increase her abilities and become the best. How about this? Xiang Linglong bit her lips and said, "You close off your senses. Once something happens to me, I will crush the jade talisman and you can come and get me out with your eyes closed." Lu Li rolled his eyes. Xiang Linglong was deceiving herself. How could he find her when he had closed off his senses? If he could find her, then he must have seen everything. This was a contradiction. Soon, Xiang Linglong realized the problem as well. She blushed. Seeing the faint smile on Lu Li's face, she glared at him and said, "Lu Li, I don't care. You must think of a way." "It is not that I don't have a way." Lu Li thought about it and said, "I will build a divine rune to cover the entire lake in mist. I can't see anything. When the time comes, I won't use my divine telekinesis, but just rely on my senses to find you and save you. How about that? I promise I won't. Of course, if you don't believe in my character, just pretend I didn't say anything." "Is that so?" Xiang Linglong bit her lips, hesitating. She thought for a while and looked into Lu Li's eyes. She could see the sincerity in his dark eyes. She made up her mind and said, "Lu Li, go and make some arrangements. This is an important opportunity for me. I don't want to miss it." "All right." Lu Li walked to the lakeside. As a matter of fact, he asked Blood Fairy to do the work secretly. Blood Fairy was a soul. The water in the lake was ineffective to her. Bougi's divine inscriptions were simply too simple. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the entire extreme Een Lake was covered in a thick white fog. This white fog was so thick that one wouldn't be able to see anything clearly. Xiang Linglong nodded with satisfaction after a while. She asked Lu Li for more details. All of a sudden, she thought of something. She asked with curiosity, "Lu Li, how do you know so much? How do you know the frosty dragon energy so well? Are you born in a famous family?" "I have told you. I was born in the mortal world." Lu Li spread out his hands and explained, "As for how I know all this, it is because I got my hands on an ancient scroll. There are many secrets recorded in it." "Okay, I will go down now. You can come down later so that I can come to your rescue at any time." Xiang Linglong nodded. Lu Li rushed into the lake. He could stay in the lake for half a day, so he was not in a hurry to wait in the lake. Xiang Linglong used psychic power to check the cabin. She noticed that Qi Dingdong was studying the marks in the cabin. He must have been inspired and had entered a meditative state. She didn't hesitate any longer. Her body emitted an eerie cold air as she soared into the air above the lake. As the cold air in her body increased, the space around her froze. "Lu Li, I am coming down," Xiang Linglong said. Lu Li turned off his senses at once. He could only sense the surroundings based on his feelings, which would be blurry. He couldn't see anything even if Xiang Linglong's robe was corroded. As a matter of fact, the mist was so thick that Lu Li couldn't see anything even with his eyes wide open without using his psychic power. Splash! Xiang Linglong's body was frozen and she fell into the lake. Because of the size of the ice, she floated above the water and only half of her body was in the water. Xiang Linglong's body was sealed in ice and could not move at all. She sensed for a while and found that the lunar heavenly water would not cause any harm to him. But the ice was melting quickly. In the time for one incense stick to burn, at most, it would be gone. Okay. Xiang Linglong didn't care about anything else. She began to mobilize her frosty dragon energy at once, trying to absorb the frosty air from the water. Only in this way could her frosty dragon energy be transformed. It works. After a while, she had an idea. She had absorbed some of the frosty air. She could clearly feel that her frosty dragon energy was growing stronger and stronger. She could feel it. Once she started cultivating, she forgot about the outside world and immersed herself in it. Before she knew it, the ice had melted and she fell into the water. Xiang Linglong felt she was falling into the lake. She screamed in surprise. She was smart enough to release the frosty dragon energy to protect herself. At the same time, she said, "Luli, help me!" Whoosh! Luli had been sensing this. He rushed over, picked up Xiang Linglong and flew up. Xiang Linglong's robe was ruined. If it weren't for the protection of the frosty dragon energy, her skin would have been corroded. Luli held Exquisite Elephant in his arms. Inevitably, he touched her skin. Luli felt like he was holding a piece of white jade in his arms. Exquisite Elephant's skin was as smooth as sheep fat, very comfortable. Both of them were completely naked, and when they touched each other like this, both of them felt as if they had been electrocuted. Luli flew up and then flew to the grassland nearby. His eyes were closed the whole time. When he landed, he put Xiang Linglong down and put on his robe. Xiang Linglong's robe was ruined. Luckily, she had the protection of the frosty dragon energy, so she could only be seen. She was still in a state of shock. She took a few breaths before she shouted in surprise. She took out her interspatial artifact and went in. As soon as she went in, she used psychic power to check. Seeing Luli standing there like a tree stump with his eyes closed, she calmed down. That being said, her cheeks were burning hot and she felt like she was on fire. She was so ashamed that she wished she could crawl into the ground to hide when she remembered she was in Luli's arms and she was naked. Luckily, he is honest. He is a gentleman. Chapter 26:11. The more famous a young lady was, the more they would pay attention to their chastity. Many young ladies regarded chastity as their life. Once their chastity was destroyed, they would be too ashamed to face others. They might even commit suicide. The Xiang family attached great importance to Luli and Xiang Linglong. Even though the Xiang family was indebted to Luli, the Xiang family still told Luli to stay away from Xiang Linglong. Also, the Xiang family secretly said that Xiang Linglong and Luli had nothing to do with each other. It wasn't only the Xiang family that paid attention to these things, Xiang Linglong herself also paid attention to these things. The education she had received since she was a child told her that girls should respect themselves and never allow their chastity and reputation to be damaged in the slightest. Xiang Linglong stayed in the interspatial artifact for more than 2 hours, and so did Luli. In the end, Xiang Linglong calmed down. She walked out of the interspatial artifact and said that she wanted to go to the Lake of Moon. Maybe it was because she was close to Luli, but Xiang Linglong didn't reject him too much. Or maybe it was because there were no outsiders here. Qi Dingdong was still in closed-door cultivation. Only the two of them knew about this secret. Therefore, Xiang Linglong let it go. The heaven water of Moon was too important for her. It was a rare opportunity, and she didn't want to miss it. Luli didn't mind. He flew to the lake. Xiang Linglong came down as well. This time, she was more careful. She kept an eye on the ice block to see if it would melt. When it was about to melt, she broke out from the ice and flew up. Since she had been thinking about it, she didn't absorb too much heaven water of Moon. It was as if she didn't go down at all. She flew into the air and muttered to herself for a moment. She decided to release even more frost dragon true chi to make the ice block that froze her bigger. That way, she would have more time to absorb the extreme cold energy within the heavenly Yin water. Luli, keep an eye on me. I want to absorb some heaven water of Moon, Xiang Linglong said. Luli said it was okay. He didn't have to spend too much energy to absorb the heaven water of Moon. He could just consume it. It was easy for him to keep an eye on Xiang Linglong. This time, Xiang Linglong released more chilling dragon energy. It took her 4 hours to melt the ice block. Before the ice block melted, Luli flew up, put on his robe, broke through the ice and flew out with Xiang Linglong. When Xiang Linglong came back to her senses, she was relieved to see that her robe was not burned and Luli had put his clothes back on. "Why didn't you take me away earlier?" she said with a bit of shame and anger. "Did you do it on purpose?" This time, Luli was able to take her out before the ice broke. He could have done it before as well, so the two of them wouldn't be hugging each other naked. "My great aunt." Luli was speechless. "You told me to turn off my senses so I couldn't feel anything. I was only alerted when you fell into the water. And we don't even know what happened before, right? Now that I know, I have experience." "Alright." Xiang Linglong blushed and said, "In the future, don't wait for me to fall into the water. Bring me out as soon as possible. Do you understand?" "Got it." Luli curled his lips. It seemed like he had become a coolie for exquisite. Seeing Luli's expression, Xiang Linglong pouted and said, "What is it? This young lady asked you to do something, and you're not willing? Do you know how many young masters in the Cold Tide Sea region are lining up to court me?" Of course. Luli knew he could not argue with the lady about this. He said fawningly, "Linglong, you are an outstanding beauty. You are a goddess in heaven. To be able to serve you is the honor of my life. I will gladly endure the hardship and I will shed tears of gratitude. I am deeply grateful and thankful." "Stop." Xiang Linglong felt something was wrong. She stared at Luli with her pretty eyes and said, "Why do I feel like you are scolding me? How is that possible?" Luli raised his hand with a straight face and said, "Linglong, you are so beautiful. I can't wait to dote on you. How can I scold you? You must have misunderstood me. You are flirting with me again." Xiang Linglong looked at Luli seriously and said, "Luli, if you keep flirting with me and push me too hard, I will ask my family patriarch to kidnap you and take you back to the Xiang family so that you can never leave." I am wrong. Luli was scared. Looking at Xiang Linglong's serious expression, he was afraid that she would really do that. He flew up and said, "Okay, my lady, make the best use of your time and cultivate. Time is precious." Xiang Linglong snorted. Her eyes dimmed down again. She had said this twice, but Luli had avoided the topic. It meant that Luli, the real dragon, could not stay in the frigid sea forever. He would leave sooner or later. By then, they might never see each other again. Even if they could, it might be thousands or tens of thousands of years later. Xiang Linglong stood there for a while. She put all these thoughts aside and continued to release her frosty dragon energy. She flew to the lake of Lunar Lake to absorb the water of lunar heaven. Luli had been sitting in the lake with his legs crossed, absorbing the water of lunar heaven. The water of lunar heaven was the coldest thing in the world. Could be regarded as the best liquid in the world. If he could absorb it, it would be of great help to Luli's body and Linglong's frosty dragon energy. Just like that, Luli cultivated and helped Xiang Linglong, while Qi Dingdong stayed in the cabin to study the marks of Tao. The three of them lived in harmony and time flew by. Soon, half a year had passed. Qi Dingdong hadn't come out from his cultivation. Clearly, he had gained a lot this time. Luli and Xiang Linglong had gained a lot as well. Luli had absorbed a lot of water of lunar heaven, and his body had been improved by several times. Now, he could stay in the lake of Lunar Lake all the time. Correspondingly, the improvement of his body had slowed down. Xiang Linglong had gained more. Her frosty dragon energy was improving. If she could keep this up, there might be a qualitative change. Her frosty dragon energy would become the frosty dragon energy. By then, her abilities would be improved by several times, and she would be half a step away from the Lord Realm. During the half a year, Luli would occasionally study the 11 mysterious characters and the soul skill on the chessboard in the Valley of Tao Seeking. Unfortunately, the two skills were abstruse and he couldn't make any breakthroughs in a short time. It was understandable. If the skill created by the Reincarnation Emperor could be learned easily, then it wouldn't be so powerful. Then, the Reincarnation Emperor wouldn't have engraved it in the 7-colored glazed pagoda. That ferocious beast was refined and killed by Luli. Luli wanted to tame it so that it could be of great help when it reached adulthood. But he forgot about it. By the time he remembered, it had been refined and killed. Luli and Xiang Linglong rested for a couple of days, and then they went back to the lake to cultivate. Luli planned to leave when the water of lunar heaven could no longer improve his body, and so did Xiang Linglong. As long as they could improve, they would continue to cultivate here. Chapter 26:12. Time zipped by. Soon, 9 years had passed. During the 9 years, the Heaven Tao realm was peaceful. Nobody went in and the Heaven Tao realm was never opened. Only Luli and the other two stayed in there. 9 years was not a long time, but it was not a short time either. For an old warrior, it was too short. But for a young warrior, it was a long time. Luli had made great progress during the 9 years. His physical body was more than 10 times stronger. His physical body should be as strong as a warrior at the peak of the 5th tribulation. His defensive abilities were improved, and so were his soul and divine energy. He had a solid foundation. The heaven water of lunar was no longer effective for Luli. He had been cultivating here because Xiang Linglong was cultivating here and Qi Dingdong was studying the marks of Tao in the cabin as well. Xiang Linglong had made more progress. She had absorbed a lot of heaven water of lunar. Her frigid dragon energy was close to a qualitative change. She believed she could make the breakthrough in half a year at most. By then, she would be in a different world. He had made progress on the 11 mysterious characters. Luli believed he could finish them in 3 to 5 months at most. By then, he would have mastered the skill and it would be powerful. But he didn't make much progress on the soul skill. Tao Heaven's skill was too profound. He would have to spend more time on it. Luli was not in a hurry. He planned to cultivate here for a few more years. The Tao Heaven realm was very peaceful, but the outside world wasn't. The Qi clan's intelligence hall was investigating the frigid sea domain and discovered some abnormalities. A few old demons had mysteriously disappeared without any warning. There were also a few elders of the big families who had mysteriously disappeared. These big families were all searching for them, but after searching for a few years, there was no news. This caught Qi Wangshan's attention. Qi Tianyu had used evil skills to summon the demon lord from the Abyss of Devils. Therefore, the Abyss of Devils might have located this place. The missing warriors might be controlled by the Abyss of Devils. Qi Wangshan sent out many scouts to search the entire Frigid Sea. For the Qi family, the Frigid Sea was their territory. They would not allow the Abyss of Devils to encroach on this place. After searching for half a year, they finally found some clues. They found traces of a missing elder of a large family near a dangerous place, and that dangerous place was shrouded in black fog, with dark clouds covering the sky. It was obvious that there was a problem. Qi Wangshan immediately gathered all the patriarchs of the major powers. After discussing for half a day in the space city, all the patriarchs returned and gathered their experts. Half a month later, over 100 experts gathered outside a large island. The name of this island was very fitting. It was called Devil Island. It was said that in the past, this island had been controlled by an old demon, who had left behind many terrifying divine inscriptions. Ordinary martial artists would die without a doubt if they entered. The master of this island had been dead for many years, but the divine inscriptions were left behind. Many people wanted to enter the island to search for treasures, but none of them came out alive. Gradually, this place became known as the Devil Island. At this moment, it was as if the demonic island really were haunted. Dark clouds covered the entire sky, and black mist was billowing everywhere. It was impossible to see what was going on inside, and one could sense a cold and evil aura from afar that struck one with extreme discomfort. More than 100 people from the great clans had come. There were 5 quasi-emperors and more than 50 feudal lords. The rest were late-stage 5 tribulation and peak 5 tribulation expert. The lineup was very powerful, and it was clear how much Qi Huangshan valued the demon abyss. This group of people did not rashly enter. Instead, they chose to push the ground forward, blasting away the divine inscriptions on the periphery bit by bit, preparing to completely flatten this Devil Island. This strategy was very good. When more than half of the divine inscriptions on the island were destroyed, more than 10 experts rushed out of the island. Some of them were the missing old demons, and the missing experts of the various clans were all here. These people looked no different from ordinary people, but this group of people did not seem to recognize Qi Huangshan and the others, and they began to crazily attack. When Qi Huangshan saw this group of people coming out, he immediately felt relieved. He did not even make a move, and only waved his hand, telling the group of people to attack. He was almost certain that this group of people had all been controlled by the demonic souls of the demon abyss, and were no longer pure humans. Fortunately, because of Qi Tianyu, they had been constantly monitoring the frigid sea domain. Otherwise, if the people of the demon abyss had secretly controlled some experts without them noticing, things would have gone out of control. When the demonic souls of the demon abyss finished planning and launched a surprise attack, something big would happen in the frigid sea domain. Now that the signs had just appeared, they could be annihilated, and there would not be too much turbulence. The more than 10 experts controlled by the demon abyss were quickly killed, and on this side, only 7 or 8 people died, and they were all 5th tribulation experts. Not a single overlord died. The most important thing was that this side had sent out a quasi-emperor, and there was only one quasi-emperor among the more than 10 people. The disparity in strength was too great. After these people were killed, figures that looked like green smoke came out of their souls like malicious spirits. Qi Huangshan had long been prepared, and took out a precious treasure to disperse these demonic souls. The entire demon island would eventually be razed to the ground. After the divine inscriptions were dispersed, this island was smashed by a palm strike from a quasi-emperor of the Qi clan, and disappeared from the entire sea domain. After Qi Huangshan brought people back, he let the intelligence hall continue to monitor the frigid sea domain. At the same time, Qi Huangshan used the name of the Qi clan to send a message to the great clans of the various continents and seas, telling them to pay close attention to the movements of the demon abyss, and prevent it from infiltrating. The message from the Qi clan attracted the attention of many great clans. Of course, some clans did not take it seriously, and thought that there was no need to fear the demons and monsters of the demon abyss. If they really dared to attack, they would definitely not be able to return. During this period of time, many clans in the entire third heaven also began to search, and indeed found traces of the demonic souls in some places. Some of the demonic souls secretly controlled some experts, and hid in the third heaven, and began to secretly organize a plan. 1 month later, a piece of news came from the Divine Wind continent, shocking the entire continent. There was a domain in the Divine Wind continent that was actually completely controlled by the demon abyss, and all the experts were controlled by the demonic souls. If it weren't for the Qi clan sending a message to Mo Hun to secretly spread the news, the entire Divine Wind continent would have fallen. All the Emperor-level experts of the Divine Wind continent were mobilized, and countless armies and experts were mobilized to surround that domain, and began to clean it up. This news spread very quickly, and this time, the entire third heaven was shaken. If the frigid sea domain was just a small matter, then the divine wind continent was an earth-shaking matter. How big was a territory? How many martial artists were there, and how many experts were there? All of them were actually controlled without a sound. If it was not discovered now, in a few years, wouldn't dozens of territories be secretly controlled? This time, the great clans of the various regions couldn't sit still, and they sent countless scouts to begin to search, to see if the demonic souls had also infiltrated their territories. With this search, the entire third heaven was in an uproar, and the frigid winter continent was also infiltrated by 2.5 territories. A huge passage appeared in the northernmost North Plains continent, and countless demons and monsters rushed out of it. Chapter 26:13. The name demonic abyss once again resounded throughout the third heaven. In fact, if it wasn't for this incident, 99% of the people in the third heaven probably wouldn't have heard of the demonic abyss. The last time the demonic abyss invaded the divine world, there were more than 2 million of them. It was said that there were many saint emperors in the third heaven at that time, but after that war, the number of saint emperors in the third heaven decreased sharply. Now, many people had saint emperor fragments because of that war. Many saint emperors fell, and a large number of monarch and lord-level experts died. Countless saint emperor fragments and monarch weapon fragments were scattered everywhere. That era was called the Darkest Era, and this period of history was buried in the dust of history. Because it was too tragic and dark, people didn't like to talk about it. It was said that the person in power at that time also said that this matter was not to be discussed. Gradually, other than the records of the great clans, the people forgot about that period of time. They only knew that more than 2 million years ago, humans had experienced a dark era. Now that the demonic abyss army had descended again, this period of history was brought up and slowly spread by the descendants of the great clans. Soon, it spread throughout the third heaven. The entire third heaven began to panic. In the past, there were so many saint emperors in the third heaven, and they had to work together to resist the demon abyss army and chase them away. Now, there was not a single saint emperor. Could the third heaven still resist the demon abyss army? The reincarnation emperor gave the world the answer. After discovering the invasion of the demonic abyss army in the northern plains continent, Reincarnation Emperor opened countless space gates in the space city in just 5 days and spread the declaration he wrote across the world. The Reincarnation Emperor explained the terror of the demonic abyss army and called on all the people of the third heaven to resist the demonic abyss army. He speculated that the demonic abyss didn't have any demon ancestor level experts, which meant that they didn't have any saint emperors. Otherwise, they would have attacked the third heaven long ago. Therefore, only when all the experts of the third heaven united would victory belong to the third heaven. He also stated the pros and cons. If the third heaven didn't work together, the demonic abyss army would continue to come in and attack them one by one. In the end, the races of the third heaven would be enslaved by the demonic abyss army. At the same time, the Reincarnation Emperor stated that the spatial city would build space gates in all the continents and send people to the northern plains continent for free. He invited all ambitious people to go to the northern plains continent to resist the demonic abyss army. The Reincarnation Emperor was one of the strongest emperors of the third heaven. His prestige had always been high and attracted many people's response. Many great emperors immediately responded, calling for everyone to go to Northern Plains continent. 10 days later, a piece of news came from the Northern Plains continent. The demonic abyss army was too powerful. Although the Northern Plains continent's 3 Emperor-class powerhouses immediately led their powerhouses and armies to suppress it, they were easily defeated by the demonic Abyss army. One overlord had fallen, and the other 2 overlords were gravely injured. More than 30 overlord experts had died, and 1 million soldiers had perished. The news spread through the information channels of the Space City, and the Third Heaven was in an uproar. The Demon Abyss army was so powerful, and if the Third Heaven did not unite, all of the races would perish, and the Third Heaven's calamity would descend. Dragon Rebel, Phoenix Empress, Sunlight Emperor, Rue Emperor. Countless Emperor-level experts responded one after another. Countless armies and experts were teleported to the North Plains through the Space Gate of the Space City. 10 days. In just 10 days, over 30 out of the dozens of emperors in the Third Heaven responded and immediately teleported over. Reincarnation Heavenly Monarch also brought the Chi clan's experts to Northern Plains continent. On the 19th day, one of the 3 most powerful emperors, Candle Sky Great Emperor, also responded and brought many experts to Northern Plains continent. This made countless people in the Third Heaven very excited. 2 of the 3 most powerful emperors were dispatched, and this rallying power was strong. With the gathering of countless experts, suppressing the Demon Abyss army was only a matter of time. There were also many old demons who volunteered. Some old demons might be doing this for their clansmen and family, or for the Third Heaven. There were also some old demons who were seeking powerful opponents to break through themselves in battle. In 2 months, more than 10 million troops had gathered in the North Plains continent. These 10 million people were not low-level soldiers. The weakest among them was a 4th Tribulation expert, and they all had a certain level of combat power. If they were only in the early or middle stages of the 4th Tribulation, they would not be qualified to go there without a special killer move. After the reincarnation Heavenly Monarch, Candle Sky Great Emperor, and the other emperors went there, the Demon Abyss army was suppressed and did not attack everywhere. However, the Demon Abyss army built demon puppets, and stopped the Third Heaven Coalition army's counterattack. The reincarnation Heavenly Monarch was not in a hurry to counterattack. No one understood the demon puppet. If they attacked rashly, it was easy to suffer heavy casualties. In addition, the human race also needed to build a divine rune defensive formation and wait for more reinforcements. The Third Heaven Coalition army did not understand the Demon Abyss army. They needed time to familiarize themselves with it. In any case, they temporarily suppressed the Demon Abyss army and suppressed them within a certain range. That way, there would not be any major problems. Countless divine rune masters were mobilized to build all kinds of defensive divine runes and powerful divine runes for the nearby cities. The reincarnation Heavenly Monarch's intention was not to win, but to protect themselves first. At the very least, they had to stabilize their position here and ensure that the Demon Abyss army did not spread out. Only then could the Third Heaven continue to fight and finally eliminate or repel all the invading Demon Abyss army. The demonic Abyss also seemed to have the same idea. Countless mountains were transformed into demonic puppets. These demonic puppets were filled with black fog. Moreover, this black fog was not ordinary black fog. It contained a powerful poison. Ordinary martial artists would not dare to enter the demonic puppet. These demon puppets also had all kinds of strange arrangements and magical abilities. The Demon Abyss army was clearly preparing to build a large number of demon nests first. This way, they would at least have a path of retreat. Behind them, the Demon Abyss army could continuously come over. Once they had a firm foothold here, they could advance or retreat, attack or defend. Both sides built their own positions. The territory occupied by the Demon Abyss army was not big. It was only about 1 territory. After another month, the human side built 8 bases in the 4 directions of the territory occupied by the Demon Abyss army. With the 8 big cities as the center, they built a defensive circle. The Demon Abyss army also built hundreds of thousands of demon puppets, forming several circles. A large area there was covered by rolling black clouds. No one knew what was inside. That piece of land had completely become demonic land. The first wave of battle between both sides also began. Both sides had a tacit understanding. They did not send out powerful martial artists. They only let the soldiers familiarize themselves with each other. Although there were strong martial artists holding the line, the strong martial artists did not participate. The Demon Abyss army opened up 4 battlefields. They sent out armies to attack in all directions. Each side sent out millions of soldiers. The human side did not send out a corresponding number of soldiers. They had more Fifth Tribulation experts. The battle was very tragic. It was just the first round of battle. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Both sides retreated. The casualty rate was as high as 30 to 40%. It should be known that the human side had less soldiers than the Demon Abyss army. They had more Fifth Tribulation experts. The casualty rate of the human side was as high as 30 to 40%. This shocked countless people. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.